Our story begins with the ground completely bloodied. A woman appears, asking where they are. On the ground, there is a completely wounded man, covered in blood. She then points her sword at him and asks again. The boy, so badly injured that he can barely speak, thinks, who would have thought that this woman, Yahello, a direct descendant of the supreme swordsman, would be so powerful as to kill hundreds of demonic humans with a single blow. She, the divine sword, was responsible for killing the celestial demon. We then saw it exterminate several demonic humans by piercing the chest of the last of them. It is said to have caused the Great Orthodox Demon War. She then grabs our protagonist, Gu-Yang-chun, by the neck and says that he knows the whereabouts of the other demonic humans and demands that he tell the truth. If he had the slightest bit of guilt, he would have to tell her. Gu-Yang-chun replies, I know, but I can't tell you because my vocal cords have been destroyed. Besides, there's a spell on my heart that stops me. Indeed, his heart was covered in runes. He continues, this would be my last chance. Yahello begins to cry intensely and says that everyone wants him dead, but if he helps her, she will do anything to save him. She begs him to tell her everything, but he thinks that maybe all that hatred is because of the demonic humans she hasn't captured. Or maybe it's because of the meteor swordsman called Zhang Xianian. It's said that her fiancé has been kidnapped by the demon humans, and Gu-Yang-chun thinks it's pathetic for the strongest woman in the world to beg and cry over a man. She then tackles Gu-Yang-chun to the ground and says, if I had known you were so vile, I would have killed you the first time we met. I regret not doing it. Gu-Yang-chun, for his part, thinks, the first time we met. When was that? It's probably very different from what I remember. Then the scene changes to two children, and he wonders where it all went wrong. He confesses to himself, I'm a miserable traitor. I attacked so many people behind their backs and allied myself with demonic humans. Now I understand everything perfectly. It must all just be karma. Yahello, still crying, hears a noise and looks at Gu-Yang-chun. With his own blood, he begins to write some things down, but the spell on his heart affects him and he begins to vomit blood. He explains, the curse placed on me will make my heart explode if I break the conditions. This is the demon art of the celestial demon, and I must not betray the demon cult. Yahello ran up to him, telling him that he didn't need to write anything. He could barely hear what she was saying and thought, what if I said that I had been manipulated all this time and that none of this was my choice? Would she believe me? Well, it seems so. I could make 1,000 excuses, but it's too late now. Why would I do that? This is surely the end of me. He then draws some things on the ground with his blood, but his heart starts to explode with pain. He wonders why he followed this path and remembers a moment in his life when his sister told him to be happy. Yahello shouts his name, asking if he can hear her. He thinks of all the regrets, big and small, that have formed his life. The scene then changes to a girl sitting among skulls, with bloodshot eyes, who says, it's you, isn't it? I'm sorry. We see that it was Gu-Yang-chun. Yahello cries a lot over his death, and we have another flashback where a girl, lying on the ground, asks him why he was crying. He replies that he wasn't crying, it was just the rain. She says, I see, you're not crying, but the moon is already in the sky. He confirms that yes, the moon was up there. She then says that they were both there at that moment, and that it was great. The woman lying on the ground reached out to him, but soon died. She had a huge wound on her abdomen. It is then revealed that Gu-Yang-chun, of the Shanshigu clan, was born into a renowned clan of the Orthodox faction and lived as an Orthodox martial artist before betraying his faction and going over to the dark side. The demon cult lost the Great Orthodox Demon War, and Gu-Yang-chun was tortured as a prisoner of war before dying. He finally closes his eyes, but suddenly he hears a voice. Patata, someone says. He thought for a moment that someone would say patati right away, but he realized that it was just a little girl with a potato in her hand who couldn't speak properly. He then comes back to reality and asks what was happening at that moment. He can't understand how he ended up there again, and when he looks at his hands, he realizes that he still can't believe what's happening. He's sure that he violated the heavenly demon's ban and that his heart exploded, ending his life in Yahello's arms. But now, his heart is beating normally in his chest, as if nothing had happened. What's more, when he looks at his small clean hands, he realizes that it must be his younger self. He wonders if it was a dream, but he doesn't understand why it's happening, since that wasn't the day he met Yahello for the first time. He tries to remember what he said back then, but can't. Then he remembers that he slapped the girl's hand, knocking over her potato, and telling her that she shouldn't get in his way and that she should know our place. Outraged, he thinks, did I really say that? He realizes that he is reliving this as a dream and that he has many regrets in his life. The little girl, who had already given up on giving him the potatoes, said that it seemed he didn't really like potatoes. This time, however, he takes the potato from her hand and thanks her, saying he'll enjoy it. However, when he took a bite of the potato, he ended up spitting it out, wondering what it was. It didn't seem real, but it was so hot. The little girl smiles and comments that his face has turned red. Suddenly, a man appears, shouting for the young master. The man says that the young master has suddenly disappeared. The boy recognizes the man as his bodyguard, but tries to remember his name, wondering if it's Nguyen, although he's not too sure. The man explains that he was very worried, thinking that something had happened to him, but soon realizes that the young master's tongue was burnt. The little girl had offered him a very hot potato. The bodyguard asks how she could do that, but the boy says it's okay and asks him to give him that thing. The man, not understanding very well, asks what he wants, and the boy replies, "The honey cookie. I know you have one with you." The man hands over the cookie, saying that it was the last one. The boy then asks the girl if she would like it. Surprised, she asks if he was really giving her the cookie. He confirms it, saying that he had received a very delicious potato and that this was the only thing he could offer in return at the moment. The girl, with saliva in her mouth, said that it was the first time she had received something so shiny and sweet-smelling. Suddenly, the girl's grandfather appears and rushes into his granddaughter's arms, asking if she is safe. He tells her never to let go of his hand, and the girl replies that everything was fine, that she had even collected potatoes for him. The little girl's grandfather tells her that she was just a brat and that the potatoes weren't really a problem. He then asks her if she hasn't hurt herself anywhere, and she replies that everything is fine. However, it seems that our protagonist already knew that gentleman. The girl comments that she also gave the boy a potato, but just as she was about to point it out to him, the grandfather quickly takes her hand, lowers it, and they both bow to the young master. Her grandfather explains that his granddaughter didn't know the ways of the world and ended up committing a serious offense against the young master of a prestigious family. He apologizes profusely if she has offended him in any way. The boy replies that it was all right, and that it was actually he who was very grateful to her. He comments that he was very hungry and, fortunately, this kind little girl gave him a potato, which he enjoyed. He then says that the only thing he can give back at the moment is that honey cookie and asks if it would be all right if she accepted it. The little girl was very happy and said that the cookie looked very sweet and shiny. When she went to take the cookie, her grandfather interfered, saying that there was no way they could accept something so precious. He explains that they had to go so as not to disturb the young master any further. The grandfather takes the little girl and runs off. The protagonist then asks the master to wait just a moment. The gentleman nervously said that if the young master was angry, he could take it out on him, but that he should spare his granddaughter. However, the protagonist hands the cookie to the girl and says that that was his answer. The girl, overjoyed, said she would give him more potatoes, but he replied that it wasn't necessary. Meanwhile, her grandfather was thinking, "That child, you really have found the Lord." The grandfather and granddaughter said goodbye, thanking him very much. The protagonist, exhausted by the whole situation, is asked by the bodyguard if he was feeling uncomfortable. The protagonist then reveals that that old man was, until recently, the leader of the Muram Alliance, one of the three great supremes, acclaimed as one of the strongest in Muram, spreading fear and terror among the unorthodox members. That old man was the Supreme Sword, Yahello. He wondered what the Supreme Sword was doing in that place, and, even if it was only a dream, he was almost killed. The little girl then waves to the protagonist, all happy, and he smiles in response. The bodyguard then said that the young master needed to return immediately, and he agreed, saying that it was time to leave. The protagonist commented that he had no more regrets and that it was time to move on. The bodyguard then says that they have arrived. However, the protagonist began to feel uncomfortable, wondering why it never ended. If it really was a dream, he should have woken up a long time ago. And if it wasn't a dream, perhaps it was related to the curse of the celestial demon, although that's just a guess. Suddenly, he began to find everything very interesting, and a familiar voice appeared. A girl appears and says, "And to think you'd come instead of running away, huh? Especially from a place where the head of the clan is coming." He thinks the girl was the Flaming Sword, Guyancio, his second eldest sister, and the person who despised him most in the world. He realizes that the reason everyone was gathered there was because the head of the clan was coming. Gu Yanxiu asks what he was up to this time, and if he was planning something pointless, it would be better to stop now and, preferably, disappear. The protagonist then slaps her hand and says, "I'm here because I need to be." She retorts, "That's coming from a kid who always knew that, but never showed his face until now." He admits that it was his fault and that he would apologize to the head of the clan later. His sister, furious, calls him by name, her threatening aura growing around her. She warns, "I don't know what trick you're up to this time, but you'd better stop it now, or I'll be very angry with you." She was about to continue, but he asked her to wait because their father, actually the head of the clan, was coming. A man arrives on a red horse and asks what all the fuss was about. The protagonist and all the others bow to him. His father observes the protagonist attentively and then turns his face away, calling the minister. The head of the clan asks if there was a unit of swordsmen being prepared, and the minister replies that the first unit of swordsmen was resting after their return and that the fourth unit was currently awaiting orders. The chief then orders the fourth unit to finish its preparations and meet him. Meanwhile, the protagonist still didn't know if it was a dream or reality, but his gaze was more determined than ever. Suddenly, the head of the clan looked at him and said, "You, third child, as soon as the meal is over, come to the patriarch's room, alone." This leaves the protagonist, his sister, and his bodyguard very surprised. The protagonist asks the bodyguard if he has any medicine for indigestion, as he wasn't feeling well. His sister smiles and sarcastically comments, "The boy shit his pants, huh?" The protagonist is grateful that he didn't go to supper wearing white underpants. The scene switches to the meal, and the protagonist is still horrified. He thinks that the meal and the atmosphere were the same as always, but he couldn't tell if he was really eating through his mouth or his nose. It was uncomfortable enough to be called out separately from the others. He wished someone could do something to improve the atmosphere of that meal. The head of the clan then says to the second child, "I hear you've had an achievement in martial arts." She replies in the affirmative, saying that she has had a little enlightenment and has recently become a 3-star martial artist. The chief praises his daughter, saying that she was very advanced for her age and that this was really good. He asks her to continue being devout. The protagonist thought that this was very impressive, as his sister was talented and worked very hard. But when he looks at her face, he thinks, "Boy, I take that back. It looks like she's looking at a dead insect." The boss then addresses the protagonist, "Third child, I hear you've taken to the streets." He replies that he did, because he had something to do and left quickly. The father just watches and says nothing. He then gets up and says that he's going out first, and that everyone should finish their meals. The protagonist wondered what was going on, as it seemed that the head of the clan wanted to say something more. He was sure he would mention something when they met after the meal. A woman approaches the protagonist and says, "Young master, the clan leader is asking you to rest well today and to come to the leader's room tomorrow." The protagonist is puzzled by this drastic change. In the bedroom, he wonders why he hasn't woken up yet and concludes that it definitely wasn't a dream. He wonders if it's a regression, like the ones he's heard so much about. Filled with rage, he punches himself and says that perhaps this means that he will be able to kill the celestial demon first. No, that wasn't an absurd statement that could be dismissed with a sigh. He wondered how he could kill the celestial demon, given that this being had killed the 3 great supremes, considered the most powerful under the heavens. As he reflects on his past life, in which he lived as a condemned demonic human under the celestial demon's rule, just to survive, he realizes that he has many regrets. But those regrets from his past life have taught him many things. Now, if he has really been reborn in this world, he wants to finally have the right to choose another life. He decides that the celestial demon will be killed by Yahello and that the demon cult will disappear. Until everything is settled, he wants to live a peaceful life and not miss this opportunity. He refuses to repeat the regrets of his past life. The protagonist then decides that the first thing he has to do is channel all his power inside himself, creating a sphere of fire in his abdomen. He realizes that, no matter how much he searched his body, this was the only energy he could find. When he saw how pathetic his inner energy was, he realized how incredible his sister was, who was only a year older than him. The protagonist had already reached the 3-star level, but there's nothing he can do about it at the moment. He thinks, "I can only train with the cultivation techniques passed down from the Gu clan lineage. This art is called Gu Flame Will Art, and cultivating it means developing all the points slowly, like a blossoming flower. Once I become 4 stars, I'll be able to emit inflammatory internal energy, and when I reach reach 7 stars, I'll be able to wrap this energy around my entire body. But at the moment, I'm just a mere star, and I need to gather internal energy as quickly as possible and refine it until I become 2 stars. He decides that in order to live a peaceful life, different from his past life, he must not depend on the power of demonic humans, as this could have negative consequences. Instead, he begins to meditate and concentrate some of his power, but soon realizes that the most critical problem is that if he keeps trying, he could actually die. With his current abilities, using internal energy is not easy at all, and if he continues, he could suffer an energy divergence. Even so, the protagonist begins to smile and says that he will still get results. He mentions that he is at an early stage, but has already become 2 stars and needs to keep progressing, step by step, but quickly, because this is a different life from his last one, and he doesn't want to be part of anything that could have a negative influence on his future. He ends up falling asleep and, when he wakes up, he feels pain all over his body, thinking, how does it make sense that my whole body hurts like this, just because I've trained a bit? It's my fault for not training until now. I've got a long way to go. He decides that in the afternoon he will go to the clan leader's room, and wonders if he should train a bit more there. When he opens the door, he sees the potato girl, who greets him with a sweet, cute smile. The scene then changes to a crack in the sky, where a man watches and says, "What are you staring at? Why don't you go home?" The man looking up at the sky replies, "That's not a star, but it was there before." Suddenly, the rift begins to open wider, and the man wonders what is going on. Then it is revealed that one day, monsters emerged from an empty space, also known as a portal to the demon realm. Each sect worked to create a group that could fight these monsters, and these people became known as sword units. Each sect needed a unit, and the Kanyu clan had 5 swords. The eldest sister, called Guwaibai, was the commander of the 5th sword unit. The protagonist comments that he spent half his life under her command, and that's how he formally met Yahello. Meeting Yahello after the potato incident should have happened 6 months later, but now everything was very different. The little girl, who was talking about the reunion, makes the protagonist turn his back, and he comments that he probably got too little sleep the night before. However, the girl grabs him from behind, and he wonders what she's doing there. The girl says, "It's nice to meet you. From now on, I..." But before she can finish her sentence, her grandfather slaps her hand away from the protagonist. He then says that he had already told her that he couldn't treat the young master like that. The protagonist is confused, not understanding what the old man was saying. The old man then orders her to apologize immediately, and the girl begins to apologize. The protagonist still wonders what is going on. The gentleman then bows and introduces himself. "My name is Wymun, and I will be serving the young master from now on, by grace of the clan chief." The protagonist comments that it might not be very pleasant to be served by an old man, but he assures him that he will do his best. The protagonist is indignant, thinking, so, does that mean that guy wasn't Yahello? The little girl then introduces herself. "My name is Yahello, and I'm going to help my grandfather from today. It's a pleasure to meet the young master." The protagonist wonders, "Serve me? If these are orders from the head of the clan, my father must surely have given me some instructions." He replies that it's a pleasure to meet them and thinks to himself that he's started this new life on the wrong foot and that he's screwed. He then says, "You can call me Gu Yongchun instead of young master." But you reply, "Understood, young master." Gu Yongchun just thinks, "Ah, whatever." The protagonist looks at a broom and comments, "That's a real broom, isn't it?" The gentleman just looks back and smiles, while Gu Yongchun wonders if it was alright. But the most important thing was what the girl was doing. We then see Yahello piling up a pile of clothes, while a girl tries to help her, saying that it was too dangerous to carry all that by herself. Yahello insists that she can do it by herself, talking about herself in the third person. Yahello can do it, I mean it. Suddenly, the little girl trips over a stone, dropping all her clothes on the floor and hitting her forehead. To make matters worse, the basket falls on her head. Gu Yongchun thinks to himself how that girl could be so clumsy, imagining that she must have more talent for martial arts, but wonders how she could be so clumsy. Yahello gets up, crying, and approaches the protagonist, who asks her why she didn't finish what she was doing. She replies that she was sent to follow him wherever he went. Gu Yongchun asks who told her to do it, and she replies that it was her grandfather. The protagonist then wonders what was going on and concludes that Yahello was now his servant. He thinks that they probably gave her this job because no one wanted to deal with him, since he is still the son of a large family. He also reflects that it's strange to have a servant girl chosen in this way. Gu Yongchun comments that Yahello doesn't seem so bad, but having a supreme sword as a servant is a lot of pressure for him. Yahello tries to fix the protagonist's kimono and, after a while, says that it was ready. However, it didn't look tidy. The protagonist turns around and thinks, my father doesn't even know who they are, or he just doesn't care, because so many servants have quit. Even so, he remembers that his father asked him to go to his room, so he'll find out what's going on when he gets there. Yahello asks the young master to wait for her, but he asks where she thinks she's going and tells her to stay and take care of things first. Embarrassed, she replies that everything was fine. The protagonist goes to the gate and asks Yahello to finish learning how to do her job. She's sad, but as he closes the door, he catches her eye and says he'll bring her a sweet, so she better do her best. Yahello is very happy with the protagonist's words, while her grandfather observes the whole situation. Changing scenes, the protagonist comments that the whole thing was very frightening for him, as they weren't that close in their past lives and had never talked like this before. He thinks, well, he must have something to say, since he called me here. After I've heard everything he has to say, I'm going to ask him why Yahello and Yahello are in my quarters. Suddenly, his father appears behind him and asks what the boy was waiting for. The protagonist is startled and jumps when he sees his father. The father then asks the boy to come in, saying that everything is fine. Sitting at the table, Gu Yongchun's soul was practically leaking out of his body, thinking, did I really say something stupid in front of the head of the clan? I should have died right then. His father then asked if he had seen the new servants, and Gu Yongchun replied that he had, since he had greeted them that morning. The man then says he understands and asks what he thought of them. Gu Yongchun replied that he was glad they had found servants for his well-being, but that he was wondering something. However, before he could continue, his father interrupted him, saying that it was better not to ask and that he would know when the time was right. Gu Yongchun said he understood, but thought, even knowing all this, my father still appointed them as my servants. Is this all part of some kind of agreement? His father continues, don't worry about silly problems like that and get ready to go to the Unified Dragon Assembly tomorrow. Gu Yongchun replies that it's fine, he'll go, but in his thoughts, he asks himself, Unified Dragon Assembly? What is that really? I can't remember. Suddenly, he opens his eyes and remembers. The scene changes to Gu Yongchun talking to his bodyguard, and he says, please cut my throat right now. The man replies, young master, do you hate going to the Unified Dragon Assembly so much? Gu Yongchun replies that yes, he hates it very much. It is explained that this is a very important event, where the new members of the sword unit are chosen, held biennially for the good of the sword unit, which works to close the gates of the demon realm, risking their lives for the good of Kanyu and all the residents of Shanxi. It is an obligation for members of Kanyu's direct lineage to take part in this event. Gu Yongchun then says, I told you to cut my throat, didn't I? I'm sure I can get rid of it if I'm dead. The man replies, but the head of the clan won't kill you. Gu Yongchun says that even Elder Li will be there, which makes him very scared. The bodyguard comments that that guy will beat up the protagonist if he runs away again. Gu Yongchun is indignant about the whole thing, wondering who Elder Li could be, especially since he's so nasty to him. Elder Li had always believed that Gu Yongchun should act with poise, as he was the only son in the family and should therefore be responsible for the honor and prestige of the clan. The bodyguard commented that Gu Yongchun should be grateful to him because Elder Li, despite being a very busy man, always found time to teach him valuable lessons, although the scoldings and punishments made him want to avoid him as much as possible. Gu Yongchun reflects that, even with all these lessons, he managed to become a loser. The bodyguard asks what he was saying, and Gu Yongchun replies that it was nothing, that he was just talking to himself. He then asks when they would have to leave, and the bodyguard replies that they would leave when everyone was ready. Gu Yongchun asked if that was it. At this point, all the women were commenting on how beautiful Yahello was and how someone could be that beautiful, betting that she would break many hearts. Gu Yongchun, surprised, asked, Yahello, aren't you ready yet? She replies apologetically, saying that she was trying to look after Yahello. He asks if Yahello was causing trouble again, but at that moment they show Yahello completely tidied up, which makes Gu Yongchun feel embarrassed. She approaches him and says, everyone is saying how beautiful I am. Gu Yongchun, not knowing how to react, stands awkwardly, not knowing what to say. He can only think that she really was very beautiful. beautiful. Ycla then asks, do you think I'm very pretty too? At that moment, Guyan-chan is so embarrassed that smoke seems to have come out of his ears. He changes the subject, saying that everyone was waiting, but she insists, asking again if she was pretty. He, trying to escape, says that they need to go to the carriage. Ycla comments that the carriage was very nice and that it was going very fast. A woman then asks if it was her first time riding in a carriage. Ycla replies that she did, and that she thought horses were just for eating, but she never imagined they could run so fast. Guyan-chan then asks, Muyan, where did you say the Unified Dragon Assembly is actually taking place? Muyan replies that it will be at the Celestial Exchange. Guyan-chan thinks that's Shanxi's famous shopping district, and it looks like Elder Li has put a lot of effort into making it happen. Muyan comments that it will take about 4 hours to get there and suggests that he take a rest. Guyan-chan agrees, thinking it's a good idea since he didn't get any sleep the night before because of the training. In fact, he hasn't slept much lately. Meanwhile, Ycla starts complaining that the horse meat smells very strange. Just then, Guyan-chan shoves a cookie into her mouth and tells her to shut up and eat it. He lies down, happy to finally be quiet, and decides he's going to get some sleep. However, Ycla soon appears again, asking if he has any more cookies. He asks if she hadn't told him that they had arrived. Guyan-chan gets up quickly and, looking outside, realizes that they have finally arrived. Guyan-chan thinks it must be because there's a big festival in Shanxi, as there are so many people there. Ycla is also impressed, but what impresses her most is not the number of people, but something that smells very good there. Suddenly, a man approaches her and says, you must be tired from your long journey, aren't you, my boy? I'm Chun Ishil, the Deputy Merchant Chief of the Celestial Exchange. It's an honor to meet the rising star of the Gu clan. Guyan-chan replies, I'm Guyan-chan, from the Gu clan. It's an honor to meet you too. Chun Ishil continues, the first day was uneventful, thanks to the efforts of Elder Li and Miss Gu. I'm sure you're very tired, so I'll guide you to your room. Guyan-chan thought, Miss Gu, and could only remember his sister. He had hoped not to meet her there, but his concern soon became reality when he saw her face, with the usual expression of few friends. Guyan-chan says, hi, my sister. And she replies, don't you hi me. You annoy me too much, kid. Although I don't think you'll cause any trouble here at the Unified Dragon Assembly, get any funny ideas you have out of your head. And don't do anything stupid that brings shame on the family name. Guyan-chan replies that he'll be as quiet as a mouse, so she needn't worry. He is, however, frustrated, thinking that she wasn't worried about him. Neither Guyan-chan nor Ycla understand what she meant by that. At that moment, Guyan-chan's sister notices Ycla's presence and looks at her with a different look. She then says, I guess old habits never die. No person is going to act differently here, are they, kid? Guyan-chan asks her what she's talking about, and she replies that she thought he had changed, but concludes that people really never change. Guyan-chan can only wonder what came over her to say that and tries to apologize for what happened. Chun Ishil comments that it's not necessary, as he's heard that brothers and sisters fight all the time, so it's normal. He suggests that, since Guyan-chan must be tired, they should go. Guyan-chan then asks if he can go somewhere else first. They arrive at a new location, and Ycla comments that the place is huge and that he has never seen such a large building before in his life. Guyan-chan reflects, I've heard that merchants are judged by their financial power and how much they invest in organizing festivals, but isn't this too much, even for them? He thinks that today they are celebrating the incredible efforts of the sword unit. The duels to choose the new members of the sword unit would take place the following day, and Guyan-chan thought it was fortunate that the members of the main lineage didn't have to take part. He believed that his only task would be to watch and that nothing bad would happen, since he was doing everything right. However, just as he was thinking this, a mysterious man appeared behind him. The man commented, kid, this time you decided not to run away, haven't you? And tried to grab Guyan-chan's head. On instinct, Guyan-chan turned around quickly, feeling the need to defend himself, but he couldn't react in time. The gentleman then stroked his head, asking what the problem was and commenting, you used to run whenever you saw this old man here. Guyan-chan replied that there was someone who would fold him in half if he wasn't there. The old man, surprised, asks who would say something so terrible, and Gu Yongchun replies that it was the second elder. The old man was surprised that Gu Yongchun was answering him directly. In his thoughts, Gu Yongchun reflects that the second elder has always had a certain fixation on him, perhaps because he is the only son of the head of the clan. Yahello, always with her quirky mind, comments that the old man looked like a bear and that bears are so tasty, and horses too. Both the old man and Gu Yongchun looked at her, not understanding what she was saying. The old man began to stare at Yahello with a bloodthirsty look, and Gu Yongchun commented that the old man was scaring everyone with that look. Yahello was already scared, thinking that Grandpa Bear was going to devour them. The elder then asks Gu Yongchun if that child next to him was his mistress, which leaves Gu Yongchun shocked, as she was just a child. Gu Yongchun clarifies that Yahello is a servant girl, and the elder, without giving much importance, replies, "Whatever, if you're saying." The elder then reminds Gu Yongchun that, although he's only a spectator at the Unified Dragon Assembly, he better go to bed soon, as he still has to take part in the event the next day. Gu Yongchun agrees and bids the second elder good night, while Yahello, still frightened, whispers to Gu Yongchun, "Let's get out of here soon before that monster devours us." The old man comments that if Gu Yongchun runs away, he will certainly kill him. Yahello, frightened, asks if Grandpa Bear is going to eat her, and Gu Yongchun, trying to calm the situation, jokingly says that he would strangle her first. The old man, however, observes that there is something very mysterious surrounding that child. The scene changes to the day of the Unified Dragon Assembly. Gu Yongchun comments that he thought the event would start in the morning, but it seems it won't start until lunchtime because of the queue. His bodyguard confirms this. Gu Yongchun notes that Shanxi's numerous clans, or anyone who can prove their identity, can take part in the tournament, but he didn't imagine there would be so many people. He reflects that becoming a member of the sword unit is very important. Yahello, still worried, asks if Grandpa Bear is going to rip her head off, and Gu Yongchun, already irritated, asks what that girl's problem is. She asks if he couldn't send her to hibernate, but Gu Yongchun replies seriously that it was spring. He then says that if she was so scared, she should have stayed in her room. Yahello replies that her grandfather asked her to stick to Gu Yongchun. He thinks that he can't order her to disobey the Supreme Swordsman, so it would really be better for her to stay by his side. Gu Yongchun tries to calm Yahello down, saying, "Relax, our bodyguard here is going to defeat Grandpa Bear." She is impressed by this, but the bodyguard asks who Grandpa Bear is. Gu Yongchun explains that he is the second elder, and the bodyguard replies that he wouldn't dare touch him, and that Gu Yongchun should show more respect when talking about him. Gu Yongchun jokes that there's no way, and Yahello, in all her drama, replies that if she dies and it makes Gu Yongchun happy, she'll do it. Gu Yongchun only replies that he was joking with Yahello. She then comments that her grandfather said that ghosts who die with a full belly are much prettier, especially those who die after eating dumplings, which leaves everyone speechless. Muyin asks Gu Yongchun to treat his servant well, and he replies sarcastically, "Treat her well? You haven't seen, have you? A servant begging for dumplings." In thought, Gu Yongchun reflects that he doesn't know how to treat Yahello, since she keeps showing up in his new life, just as she did in his old one. Muyin comments that the girl doesn't understand her role as a servant, and yet Gu Yongchun bought her, which leaves him speechless. Muyin then adds that Gu Yongchun is very different from the rumors, pointing out that they shouldn't be trusted and that he still has a lot to learn. Gu Yongchun replies that Muyin is exaggerating, especially about some dumplings, but then asks, "Wait a minute, rumors? How long have you been my guard?" Muyin replies that he's been in charge for about 2 weeks. Gu Yongchun thinks that Muyin must have been appointed shortly after his return and ponders who is luckier in this situation. Suddenly, a woman appeared speaking loudly, drawing a girl's attention and saying that it was dangerous to walk alone. The girl replied that the woman was exaggerating and that, with the Unified Dragon Assembly taking place, there was nothing to be afraid of, since the place was full of members of the Gu clan. Gu Yongchun recognized the familiar voice, and the woman replied that this was precisely what worried her, as the girl could end up bumping into the heir to the Gu clan. Gu Yongchun became indignant, thinking that there were many people in the place and that they were talking about him in a threatening way. As the girl turns to leave, she spots Gu Yongchun. Muyin comments that the expressions of the lady and her guard look like they've seen a ghost, and asks if Gu Yongchun knows them. In his thoughts, Gu Yongchun reflects that he would never forget the hair that falls over her shoulders, her deep black eyes, and that ring on her hand, with a symbol that appears when examined closely. He thinks that, although he has never met anyone like her, the meaning of that ring is not foreign to him, as it was from the Peng clan. Soon, we see a sword flashing, and Gu Yongchun recognizes the girl as his former fiancée. He explains that there was an arranged marriage with the Peng clan of Abai, one of the 4 major clans, because the Gu clan is as prestigious as the 4 clans, and they had a child of a similar age. Gu Yongchun was destined to be the heir if nothing happened, and the Peng clan probably thought that an arranged marriage with the Gu clan would be acceptable. However, the problem lay in the problems he caused and the bad rumors about him, such as abandoning training to cause more problems, which was not favorable for the Peng clan. What really destroyed the relationship were the things Gu Yongchun said to that girl. When the girl was about to ask why Gu Yongchun was there, he interrupted her and said that he should be the one to ask. He asked her why she was there, and she replied that she had some business there. She explains that they didn't own Shanxi territory, so she didn't need to report her every move. Gu Yongchun replies, "Whatever." The girl starts shouting, asking why he was speaking so rudely to her, and if he had forgotten that she was a year older than him. Gu Yongchun replies that it was bad, that he really had forgotten that she was older, and asks if everything is alright now. He then asks why Seela if she has bought her dumplings yet, but she remains silent. Gu Yongchun then bids farewell to his ex-wife, saying, "Whatever you're doing here, have a good time, but we're very busy at the moment, so I'll see you later." He simply turns his back on the girl, ignoring her. The girl thinks, of course, right? Whether for work or fun, have a good time. It had to be just when I'm busy enough dealing with my brother. And I've never met that girl next to him before. Could that little girl be his servant? And with a cute servant by his side, has he changed at all? She then recalls an incident from the past, where Gu Yongchun had said that she was just a concubine's daughter. On that occasion, she grabbed Gu Yongchun by the neck and asked, "What did you just say?" He replied, "Well, I'm not wrong, am I? Or am I?" Irritated, she punched him in the face and said, "I was prepared to put up with anything, even an arranged marriage, and all the terrible rumors about you, all for the good of the Peng clan. But you know what? To hell with all that and to hell with this marriage. You're dead, you fucking bastard." She even picked up a chair to hit Gu Yongchun. She thinks that if nothing has changed since then, he's still the same. However, when she saw Gu Yongchun helping Seela, she was impressed, as this was not his normal attitude. She thinks that maybe there is something a little different about that boy, but soon concludes that he was probably just in a good mood that day, as it would be impossible for him to change so suddenly. Suddenly, everyone is interrupted by a shout. One person shouts, "What did you mean by that?" Seela asks if the dumplings are okay, and Gu Yongchun asks her to be quiet. A man appears, trying to calm the situation, saying that the problem won't be solved by shouting, and that the person needs to calm down. The man who is shouting replies, "I'm telling you I don't have time. You'll be responsible if I get caught." The other man asks, "Caught? What do you mean?" The man remains silent for a moment and then says, "I never said that." The other man, irritated, asks if he was joking. Gu Yongchun asks if they should help, and Muyin replies, "Man, do we really need to do that?" Gu Yongchun explains that anyone can take part in the Unified Dragon Assembly, but only if they can prove their identity. Muyin then asks if they should allow him to continue making a scene, and Gu Yongchun comments that discussions at the entrance to the Unified Dragon Assembly are rare and that the Gu clan martial artists on duty would take care of it. The man, insistent, says, "Let's stop here." At that moment, the man who was shouting strikes the other, who asks, "What are you doing?" The man replies that he now thinks he has proved his ability and asks if he can take part. The other men deny it, saying that after what he's done, there's no way he can take part. He asks why, since he was showing off his skills. Muyin asks if they should intervene, but Gu Yongchun decides that he doesn't want to get involved and suggests that they go inside, leaving the others to take care of the situation. The other man says, "You can't just have things your own way. We have our own rules here, kid, and you can't get in if you can't identify yourself properly." The man insists that his skills should be proof enough, but the other man replies that this was an even bigger problem. Suddenly, the boy says, "You're disrespecting the young leader of the Peng clan." This frightens both Muyin and Gu Yongchun, who is surprised to hear it. The scene then changes to a place covered in snow, where a girl asks, "What are you doing here?" Gu Yongchun replies, "Good morning, I was just warming myself by the fire because of the cold. Oh, and I was also taking the opportunity to bake this sweet potato. The girl comments, "Well, I'm not going to ask why you're doing this in front of my room, but what's that in your hand?" He explains that the potato would take a long time to bake, so he thought he'd use it to make the fire stronger. Annoyed, she strikes an object against his forehead. Gu Yongchun asks why she hit his older brother, and the girl replies that he deserved it. She then asks if Gu Yongchun knew what that object in his hand was, and he replies that it was just firewood. She corrects him, saying that it was a plaque from the Peng clan, given to him by the head of the clan himself as a reward for graduating among the best in the Divine Dragon Academy and for being the youngest successor in history. She asks him if he knows what he can do with that plaque, and he innocently replies that yes, it can help make the fire stronger. Annoyed, she starts hitting him again, since he hasn't understood anything, and says that he should behave more like a successor. She continues, "Sometimes you don't know what you're thinking. You're young and yet very talented. You were even chosen to be the successor, but you seem dissatisfied with it all." Smiling, Gu Yongchun replies that she is far from the truth. In fact, he just wanted to get out of that place. Surprised, she asks why he doesn't leave and then come back. Gu Yongchun is impressed by her suggestion. The scene changes to a piece of paper on which Gu Yongchun announces that he's going away for a while. The girl reads it and comments, "So you mean that shitty brother of mine thinks 4 months is too little?" A woman then comes up and calls her, saying that the beggars sect has news. The girl excitedly replies, "I'm finally going to find that son of a bitch," and asks where he is. The woman told her he was in Shanxi, and the girl was amazed that Gu Yongchun had gone so far. Returning to the present, Gu Yongchun insists that he has already shown all his abilities, and so they should let him take part in the Unified Dragon Assembly. A man tries to calm him down, but Gu Yongchun replies that he doesn't have time for that. He suggests that, if necessary, he will show them the Dark Knight blades so that they will believe him. Muyin, upon hearing this, comments, "Young master, did you hear that? The Dark Knight blade?" Gu Yongchun thinks to himself that the Dark Knight blade is a technique exclusive to the direct lineage of the Peng clan, and concludes that the boy really could be who he says he is. He decides he'd better get out of there before he gets into any more trouble. Just then, the old man appears and, upon hearing about the Dark Knight blade, comments that the boy might not be a fraud. Gu Yongchun thinks that he's certainly in trouble now. The elder observes that the boy seems skillful enough and allows him to participate. The boy bows and introduces himself. "I am Peng Wujin, successor of the Peng clan. It's an honor to meet you, Grand Master of the Pure Flame Fist of the renowned Gu clan." The elder replied, "It's been a while since I've heard that title." "Huh? You can take part without any problems, kid." Another man protests, saying that there's no way of knowing if the boy is really the successor, but the elder says he's sure that he is. The man asks how the elder can be so sure, and he replies that the boy looks a lot like his father and that the boy's physique is typical of a Peng. Besides, the ring on the boy's finger was proof enough. Gu Yongchun then thinks that it is the same ring as Peng Ai's, confirming that the boy is probably the Peng's successor. The old man asks the boy why he, as his successor, wants to take part in this competition, the aim of which is to find new swordsmen for the Gu clan. Peng Wujin replies that the Peng clan is no fun at all. The elder laughs and comments that this is not a bad reason, while Gu Yongchun can only think that the boy must have gone mad for good. The elder asks if his family has authorized his participation, and Peng Wujin admits that they probably wouldn't allow it, which is why he ran away from home. The elder laughs a lot and asks Gu Yongchun if he's listening to all this. Gu Yongchun can only think that that boy is certainly stupid. The elder then comments that Peng Wujin seems to have been very well trained. The old man asks how old the boy is, and Peng Wujin replies that he will be 23 this year. Gu Yongchun, surprised, thinks, "Wow, that's my age. What's that, huh?" The elder then comments, "Are you that young? The Peng clan is raising a monster." He adds that he would like his little idiot to learn from Peng Wujin. Muyin quickly says to Gu Yongchun, "I'm sure he's not talking about you, young master." Sila asks why Grandpa called him an idiot. Gu Yongchun, irritated, asks them both to shut up, as they were only making his situation worse. He thinks, "I don't care what he said, but if this guy really is Peng Wujin, then it's true that he's a monster. It won't be long before he gets the title of Blade Emperor." Gu Yongchun starts to think, well, he's from the Peng clan, but wasn't there someone else here from the Peng clan? Suddenly, a black-haired girl appears and, without hesitation, gives Peng Wujin a flying kick to the face, sending him flying away. Everyone is impressed by the force of the kick. She shouts, shouts, "You bastard! You were going to become the successor and then you ran away from home, leaving only a note behind. So tell me now, what do you have to say?" Peng Wujin, after thinking for a moment, replies, "Spare my life?" She continues, "Did you run away from home to become a swordsman for another clan? Have you gone mad or is there shit in your head?" And starts hitting him again. Peng Wujin complains that he's hurting her, and she replies, "You have to, you piece of shit." Gu Yongchun then comments, "Well, I think he's going to die. Shouldn't we stop that?" The elder replied, "Leave it, the Pengs are pretty tough. He won't die even if she hit him with an iron rod." However, Peng Wujin starts begging his master to help, and Gu Yongchun asks, "Are you really sure about this, that he won't die?" The elder reconsiders and says, "Maybe our protagonist is right." He then interrupts the fight, saying, "Enough, you'll end up killing him." The girl, irritated, asks, "Who dares to say that?" and soon realizes that it's Grandmaster Gu. She bows respectfully and says, "I'm sorry I didn't introduce myself before. I am Peng Ai, Grandmaster of the Pure Flame Fist, and I apologize for solving family problems like this in front of you." The elder comments, "It was nice to meet someone as crazy as you." She replies, "I won't forget that, and I'll find a way to make it up to you. We're leaving now." However, Peng Wujin interrupted, saying, "No, we're not." Peng Ai, surprised, asks, "Are you kidding me? It's not possible. Haven't I hit you enough?" With a very serious expression, Peng Wujin replies, "Does it look like I'm joking?" She remains silent, then asks why. Peng Wujin replies, "The Peng clan is no fun." She replies, "So the other clans are?" And he says, "Probably more than ours." He then asks her to mellow down a bit, since he is the successor to the family. Peng Wujin explains, "That's exactly why I want to have some fun before I become the head of the clan. The only way to escape that fate is to be crippled or die, and I don't want either. I don't want to be head of the clan, but apart from you and me, the others are just beasts using our name. So I'm definitely going to become chief one day, and I can't leave that fate to you. That's why, even though I didn't want to, I agreed to be the successor." Gu Yongchun then asks the second elder, "Are you really going to let him take part? I honestly don't think it's a good idea for us to get involved in the Peng clan's problems." The elder replies, "Well, I'd like to, but considering the current situation of the Peng clan, I really don't know what to do." He then suggests, "Tell you what, I'll let you take part in this tournament if you beat me." The girl then asks, "What nonsense are you talking now?" Gu Yongchun asks if the elder has gone mad for good, and the elder proposes just 3 moves to decide who wins. "What do you think, kid?" Peng Wujin asks if that's all he needs to do, and the elder replies, "Have I ever lied to anyone? Let's decide the rules, then. How about this? If you touch me within 10 turns, you're the winner." As the elder spoke, Peng Wujin was already behind him at high speed, reaching for his sword. As he prepared to attack, the elder commented that the boy was very patient, and quickly turned around, ready with a punch. The scene shifts to the arena, where it is announced, "You've waited long enough, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for the long-awaited fight between the 2 stars who will lead the future of the Gu clan, the Flaming Sword Gu Yansil and Gu Yongchun, the first heir of the Gu clan." Gu Yongchun, confused, thinks, "Why the hell am I fighting here? And against my own sister?" The scene returns to the old man, who punches Peng Wujin in the face, knocking him away. With a smile, the elder comments that he has won the fight. Gu Yongchun asks if he shouldn't have just dodged the boy's attack. The elder replies, "When did I plan that? It was a fight you both agreed on. Besides, I controlled my strength, and he'll wake up soon." But Gu Yongchun thought that it didn't look like Peng Wujin would wake up anytime soon, since his soul seemed to be leaving his body. The elder then commented, "I have nothing to do if the Peng clan comes to complain, so you can rest assured. I, the Fist of Pure Flame, will not die alone here." Gu Yongchun replied, "Please die alone." Gu Yongchun draws Peng Ai's attention, explaining that it was entirely the second elder's idea. She, now relieved, says, "It's okay, it's a relief. Who knows what kind of trouble he would have caused if he'd been awake." The elder, smiling, commented, "Young man from the Peng clan, do you really think so?" "I really only did it because I thought it would be funny." Gu Yongchun wondered how that old fool had become an elder, feeling that things were only getting worse. Yahello enthusiastically begins to describe the Grandpa Bear fight, talking about the punch that sent Peng Wujin flying and then falling to the ground. Gu Yongchun thinks that Yahello is a very expressive child and wonders how she managed to save the world. The old man comments that Yahello has a much better look than Gu Yongchun and decides to give her a present, a cookie. Yahello, Manhwa, delighted, says that she liked Grandpa Bear very much from the start, and the old man replies that he already knew that. The elder then turns to Gu Yongchun and asks if he is disappointed that he has only given a gift to his servant. He suggests that perhaps he should give Gu Yongchun something too. Gu Yongchun replies that he doesn't like sweets. Just then, the elder mentions that, after the Unified Dragon Assembly, Gu Yongchun will have to take part in an exhibition fight. The scene returns to Gu Yongchun facing his sister. She asks if he's not going to use a sword, and Gu Yongchun wonders, a sword? Did I use a sword back then? I really don't remember. The Kangyu Flame-Lo arts can be used with various types of weapons and are known to be especially effective with sword fists. In the end, I realized that my fists were better for me, so I stopped using the sword. Will this seem strange to everyone watching? His sister comments, well, whatever. I don't really care if you use a sword or a fist or whatever. Gu Yongchun thinks that her bad personality is finally coming out. The girl then says, I'm so grateful, my little brother. I'm happy to have this opportunity. He asks, well, what opportunity? She replies, a legitimate opportunity to beat up my little brother, and in front of so many people watching us. Gu Yongchun has a flashback, remembering the moment when the elder told him that he would take part in that exhibition fight. He had asked the elder why he needed to take part in a fight, especially against his own sister. The elder replied that he didn't need to shout like that. The old man comments, well, I don't want people to leave thinking that the Gu clan is weak. Gu Yongchun thinks, that old man is really crazy. I can see in his face that he would only find it funny. But whatever, I'll give up in the middle of the fight. The old man then warns, if you're thinking of giving up in the middle, know that the same thing will happen as happened to that boy over there. And I don't think I need to say any more to you, do I? Gu Yongchun replied, you really want to see me get beaten up, don't you? And in front of so many people like that? The elder asked, Yongchun, are you really planning to lose? Gu Yongchun thought he wasn't planning to lose, but he couldn't waste his one chance to start again. He reflects, I don't want to waste my energy on a fight that didn't even happen in my past life, and what's more, against my sister. His sister then says, my dear brother, who is naturally going to become the next clan leader just because he's a man. I'll tell you one thing, I hate you to death. The fight then begins, and she rushes forward to attack Gu Yongchun. He narrowly manages to dodge the attack. She then makes another attack with her sword, but Gu Yongchun ducks just in time. Without hesitation, she attacks again, but is surprised to see that he has managed to dodge 3 of her attacks. She thinks, how can a mere 2-star bastard be dodging my 3-star attack? Gu Yongchun, realizing what she's thinking, reflects, I'm managing to move half a step ahead of her, but even that is taking my breath away. It just shows that I'm completely untrained right now. How am I going to finish this? He considers letting her hit him, but wonders if he'll be able to continue in one piece after taking a full blow from her. The only thing left for him is to dodge all her attack. Then his sister comes very close to him, grabbing his GI. Gu Yongchun quickly pulls it off, but she rips it in half. He comments, if you're going to attack with such an obvious intention, you'll only make it easier for me, little sister. Could you stop? He thinks, how much murderous intent does she have? She must have a lot of murderous intent to tear my clothes like that. Her sister continues, I forced myself to accept that I would never be leader of the clan because I'm a woman, and even though I killed myself working harder, much harder than you. And to think that you, who have lived your life wasting away like a piece of garbage, are going to take away from me the path I've wanted so much in my life, and all this just because you're a man. Can you, little brother, understand just a little of what I feel? As she spoke, her sword began to be coated with fire. Gu Yongchun thought, she's coated her sword with martial energy. This is starting to get very dangerous, and this level is well beyond 3 stars. His sister begins to attack him furiously, and the only thing he can do at that moment is dodge. The more he dodged, the angrier his sister got, and she shouted, you've been running away all your life, and you've never done anything but that. You have no talent and even less effort to fight for what you want. If you're going to live such a useless life, you should disappear from this world altogether. Gu Yongchun silently watched his sister's words, realizing that she was letting off steam with him. When she went to strike her next blow, Gu Yongchun noticed that she had a very sad expression, almost crying. He also began to show a sad expression. His sister then angrily said that he should disappear just like their mother. The moment she said this, Gu Yongchun grabbed her wrist with a single hand, surprising her. At that moment, Gu Yongchun's sad expression turned into a bloodthirsty look. He faced his sister and said firmly, what did you say to me? Would you have the nerve to repeat repeat that to my face? Well, everyone, that was today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, leave a like, comment down here what you thought, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you want to watch the videos without any ads and still support the channel, consider becoming a member. The button to become a member is below, so take a look. Thank you very much for your support, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks! The story then changes, saying that my sister was the coolest person I knew. At just 15, she received the title of Phoenix Sword, and at 20, she graduated at the top of her class at the Divine Dragon Academy, being named the 5th leader of the Gu clan sword unit. Everyone recognized her power, but she wouldn't be able to become the head of the clan. Instead, the son of a concubine called Gu Yangchun would take over as head. However, I didn't hate him. Even though we were half-brothers, Gu Yangchun's mother had always been very kind to me, and I liked her a lot too, so I was fine with Gu Yangchun's existence. But that was before the day she decided to disappear just like that. Her father gave the order not to look for her, so no one really went after her. That's when it all started. Gu Yangchun started acting rude to everyone, and rumors spread that he was harassing the maids. Even so, there was no change in his appointment as the next boss. From the start, the head of the clan has always been a man, completely ignoring all my effort throughout my life. I, who had always been an exceptional sister, began to resent Gu Yangchun, who was so privileged but didn't know how to appreciate him. Actually, no, I hated him. In this scene, we return to the protagonist, who asks what she said to him. He then realizes that the situation is getting very dangerous. Gu Yangchun ends up throwing the girl away, quickly appearing behind her, ready to punch her in the face. Suddenly, the people outside watching comment on the girl, asking if that was Gonzo, and saying that, even though she was the same age, she was much more talented. She replies that she shouldn't go around saying she's from the Peng family anywhere. As they fought, they whispered to each other, but Yobi couldn't hear what they were saying. Her brother explains that the second elder had created a barrier with his internal energy, so there was no way he could hear them. Her sister asks him not to go around saying that he belongs to the Peng clan, and he asks her if she is ashamed of her older brother. She asks him to stay at the Unified Dragon Assembly until the swelling subsides. He then asks who is dueling now, and she replies that it is the younger brothers of the Phoenix Sword. The girl comments on how incredible she was, being a 3-star swordsman with very smooth fencing and mastery of internal energy. The brother replies that he doesn't want to talk about her, he just wants to know if the one who is just dodging the attack is her younger brother. The girl confirms, and they are both younger brothers of the Phoenix Sword. He then says that he understands, but remembers that the clan doesn't just have the Phoenix Sword, so he wants to have some fun before becoming the head of the clan. His sister thinks that when he becomes chief, he won't be able to keep that look in his eyes. Suddenly, a boy announces that the fight is over. Meanwhile, the protagonist's sister manages to narrowly dodge the attack and thinks she's going to win the fight. She then starts attacking again. Yushu says that he can understand her feeling and that it's okay to hate him. He's lived his whole life this way and understands why her words are annoying, but he hopes she can also understand why he's doing it. At that moment, the protagonist goes into attack mode and lands a punch in the middle of the girl's face, causing her to faint instantly. It is then announced that Gu Yangchun has won the fight. The scene changes for the protagonist, who thinks that victory was not in his plans now. He hadn't expected that the internal energy of 2 stars could make her nose bleed until she fainted, and hoped that nothing bad would happen to her. He could only remember her words, telling him to disappear. The boy was sitting down, crestfallen, when suddenly his friends arrived and asked if everything was alright and if he wasn't hurt. He replied that he was fine and asked what the situation was like inside. One of his friends replies that, to be honest, he was going to feel bad, but that, since everyone thought he was going to be beaten up, the atmosphere was pretty buzzing because of his victory. The protagonist agrees, saying that it makes sense that everyone would think that a bastard, regarded as a scoundrel, would defeat the promising young woman. His friend says that the atmosphere has calmed down a bit as the second elder has started to finalize things at the Unified Dragon Assembly. The protagonist replies that they better get out of there before they bump into the second elder. One of his friends then comments, "Young master, your hand is bleeding." He replies that he was like that and that it was proof that he still couldn't deal properly with his internal energy, but that it wasn't really a big deal. Ycla takes his hand and tries to bandage it, asking if that's how it's done. Yangchun says he doesn't think so, and she comments that she can't do anything right, apologizing for not being able to do it properly, and asks him not to hurt himself. A boy then approaches Yangchun and comments that he doesn't like to see the young Master Lord Gu get hurt either. Yangchun didn't like the intimacy with which the boy spoke, but replied, "Nice to meet you, young Master Peng. I'm actually Gu Yangchun." The boy replies that it's nice to meet you too. Master Peng's sister says, "Please, let's go now. I can't stand it anymore." He then says, "I see, it must be strange for you, since you and young Lord Gu were engaged. Why don't you take this opportunity to reconcile?" Yangchun then asks why they were there, and Master Peng replies that it's not good to use the opportunity opportunity to make connections with strong people and become friends. By the way, just call me Brother Peng from now on, says Master Peng. Yang Chun replies that getting close to someone like him wouldn't bring any benefit. Peng then says, someone like you? I thought the Gu family only had the Phoenix sword, which is called Guyobi. I never imagined there was another talent like you hiding in the family. Yang Chun asked why he was talking to him so formally, and Peng replies, judging by the fact that you mentioned Guyobi, I guess you know my sister, don't you? He says, sure, we're super close, but I don't know what she thinks of us. Yang Chun thinks, so that means they're not close at all. And he replies, that means we're close enough, right, Yang Chun? But it's late, so I'm going. They say goodbye, except for the girl who was Yang Chun's ex-fiancée. Yang Chun then asks her if she has anything to say, and she replies, the day our engagement was called off, I was naughty enough to hit you with a chair. I'm sorry. Yang Chun replies, I called you a concubine's cub or something. I'm still very immature, but back then I was even more so, and I certainly did something that deserved punishment. So there's really no need to apologize. He smiles and says it's alright. She then asks him not to lose what her brother gave her. Yang Chun wondered what she was talking about, and when he looked inside her kimono, he saw that there was a Peng sign. He wondered what it meant, but she had already said goodbye and was far away. Yang Chun began to think that there were still many things he needed to fix. The scene changes to a carriage at night, and Seola is asleep, drooling. Yang Chun then thinks, no matter how much I think about it, I don't remember fighting my sister in my past life, let alone beating her. Starting with the fact that Seola became a servant, so many things are very different from my past life. Did that simple gesture of kindness change the whole course of things? After we get back, I'll need to act much faster than I thought. Suddenly, Yang Chun senses something and says, Muyin, check the demon detection charm. Muyin replied that there was no change and commented, I don't know if you felt it, but it will glow if a portal to the demon realm appears nearby, so it's best not to worry about it. Just as he said he could relax, the paper begins to glow. Muyin shouts for everyone to stop immediately, saying that a portal to the demon realm was opening, and that everyone should take their positions, with the young master's safety being the priority. The paper then starts to catch fire next to him, and Yang Chun goes outside. Muyin asks what he was doing there, as the scene had become too dangerous for him. Yang Chun replies that he can scold him later, but for now, he should look ahead. They then see that there really was a portal opening up in the middle of nowhere, and say that the portal was green. Suddenly, some creatures that looked like wolves started coming out of the portal. Yang Chun thinks green represents the lowest level of danger, but it can still be very tricky. Yang Chun then, with his fist of fire, begins to defeat those wolves, saying that, despite everything, the situation was still simple to deal with because the monster's universal weakness is demon stones, which act as their heart, and it can only be extracted when they die. Yang Chun then begins to extract all the stones from the dead wolves and says, that makes it very easy, but my damn energy is already running out, and maintaining the art of fire rounds is proving very complicated for me. But I really want to survive here, so I need to use the art of fire round. Just as the wolves were about to attack the protagonist, who was already tired, Muyin appears in front of him and, with his sword, slashes several wolves at the same time. This display of speed and power impresses even the protagonist, who wonders if Muyin has always been like this. Muyin then asks the young master if everything is alright with him, and Yang Chun says yes, thanking him for saving his life. Yang Chun comments that Muyin finished off all the wolves very quickly, and Muyin replies that although there were many, they weren't very strong. Muyin continues, but what were you doing here? If you got hurt, I wouldn't forgive myself. Yang Chun tries to deflect the subject, saying that it's over, but Muyin insists, it's not that simple. Next time, you must evacuate safely. Young master, bear in mind that you are the heir to the Gu family. At that moment, the protagonist ends up falling flat on his forehead, and everyone around him wonders what is happening to him. Yang Chun starts writhing on the floor, wondering where that damn feeling was coming from. He realizes that this is the art of the celestial demon, which absorbs demonic energy, called the art of demonic absorption, and it was all coming from his hand. At that moment, Yang Chun began to have visions of his past life, where there was a man without an arm, all bloodied up on the ground, asking why he had done this and what everyone there had done to deserve it. There were many dead people around, and the man asked again why he had done this to them. Yang Chun then says, Swordsman of the Blossom Division, are those your last words? When the man looked back, the leader has already died, and Yang Chun says, the blossom wasn't that bad. As a gigantic dragon descended from the sky, there was a man on top of the dragon's head, and to be honest, he was identical to the protagonist. It was hard to tell who was who. The man then says, but that doesn't even come close to satisfying me. Still, I had a bit of fun. So raise your head now. The vision faded, and Yang Chun came back to the present, wondering what it was. The art of the fire round was purifying the demon art. In fact, it was consuming it, something that had never happened in his past life. When Yang Chun opens his eyes, everyone around him is worried about him and asks if everything is alright. Yang Chun replies that it was no big deal, but admits that he hurt himself more than he thought. Muyin then says says that he's going to find a doctor nearby to look after him, but Yang-chun insists that everything is fine and that they don't need to worry. He thinks to himself, I should hide this for now. It won't be good if they find out I've absorbed demonic energy. Seola appeared behind him, crying, saying that he looked so hurt, and asked if it hurt. Yang-chun replies, is that what it looks like? Must I really be that bad? Seola comments that his face looked terrible, which makes Yang-chun angry, as that was his normal expression. A woman then intervenes, saying that Seola should be helping the young master, not offending him. Poor Seola, who replies that she was just very worried about him. Muyin then suggests, young master, if you're not feeling well, we could visit an apothecary around here. Yang-chun replies that he wasn't that bad and that he shouldn't worry, he just needs a good night's sleep, so they should carry on. Muyin then agrees, saying, if that's what our young master wants, then we'll continue. Yang-chun thinks, I don't feel the demonic energy in my body anymore. The art of the fire round has really done something, and seeing how the color of the demon stone has changed, the energy has really been absorbed. But anyway, I need to keep going. He then breaks that stone, and the scene changes to Seola talking about finding honey bread. However, the protagonist just ignores her, and she asks, why did you bring Seola if you're not going to buy her honey cookies? Yang-chun replies, what are you talking about? I said I had to sort things out at the market, and you ended up using your grandfather as an excuse to follow me. Muyin then says, young master, why have you come here? You haven't fully recovered yet, and if you don't have a reason to do so today, I advise we return home. If you're looking for something, maybe I can help you. Yang-chun replies, I understand that you want to help, but not now. Yang-chun then looks down a corridor and says, well, it must be that way. Muyin asks what's in that alley, and Yang-chun replies, Seola, go home now. Muyin, come with me. Seola asks why she should do that, and Yang-chun replies, go back to the clan, I'll be back later. Tell the others. Seola then says, but what about my grandfather? Yang-chun replies, I'll give you 10 honey cookies if you come home now. She asks, and dumplings? Yang-chun confirms, and they end up shaking hands before Seola leaves. Yang-chun then tells Muyin that they're moving on. Muyin asks where they're going, and Yang-chun replies that they'll see. After walking some more, Yang-chun comments, I think it's this way, and Muyin says that the place looks very dangerous. Yang-chun replies that he is aware. Suddenly, the protagonist looks away and says he's found what he was looking for. He comments that he was already afraid he wouldn't find it. Muyin then asks, young master, what did you come here for? Yang-chun asks if there's a problem with that, and Muyin replies, frankly, yes. Apart from appearances, this place gives me the creep. Yang-chun comments, you have very sharp senses, huh? At that moment, the protagonist opens a door and Muyin prepares to attack. Some of the men then say, who is this brat? Has anyone lost a baby around here? Another replies, what the fuck are you talking about? He probably just took a wrong turn. And the guy behind him even has a sword. What should we do now? Kill them? Suddenly, a man comes up and says, brat, this isn't a nursery school for you to wander around in. So, what brought you here? Yang-chun replies, and what else would it be? I'm just a customer. The man then says, looks like the brat got attitude, huh? I think we can sell this by cutting his tongue out. Muyin reacts, how dare you, and prepares to attack. Yang-chun then asks Muyin to calm down a bit and tells him to stay out of it for now. Yang-chun continues, you've known who I am since the moment I set foot here. You're afraid the Gu clan will clean up around here, aren't you? Well, we have no reason to, and it would also be very damaging for us. Now, before things get ugly, bring me the regional manager. The man replies, I don't know where that brat learned it, but you seem to be lacking in respect, don't you, kid? Yang-chun replies, you don't seem very polite either. At this point, the man begins to smile and says that the protagonist really does have attitude, but then orders his friends to catch him. They all go for Yang-chun, but Muyin draws his sword and says, don't you dare touch the young master with your finger. He then starts attacking everyone at once at an absurd speed, leaving everyone on the ground. The protagonist smiles in the direction of the last remaining man. The man behind him says, that brat, after all, is the heir to the Gu clan, and you'd expect his guard to be that strong. But I can't take a child like that to the regional manager either. What should I do in this situation? Another man then arrives and says, Captain, the regional manager wants to tell you something. The captain then says, shit, did he hear everything? Then I'm screwed. The captain asks what the manager said, while the protagonist thinks that they are clearly planning something, and he will have no choice. Yang-chun then asks Muyin to finish them off quickly, but at that moment, the man asks the protagonist to put his swords away, as the regional manager wants to see him. Yang-chun replies, you should have said that before. Muyin, you can put your sword away now. Let's go. Muyin then comments, young master, I really don't understand anything. Yang-chun replies, relax, it's no big deal. I was planning to go to the beggar's sect, but some problems have arisen. The beggar's sect has earned its place among the 10 big sect just with the information they have, but since they're still orthodox, they won't accept jobs that cause problems. What I want might be a bit problematic, so I had to go elsewhere. If the beggar's sect is the best orthodox sect at obtaining information, then this is the best unorthodox sect in this respect, the house sect. So I decided to come to the house sect. Yang-chun goes down downstairs and is greeted by a man who says, "I'm the leader of the Shanxi branch, Du Wenshu, and we weren't expecting your visit. We're sorry for your aggressive behavior." Yang Chun replies that they needn't worry and asks if he will accept his commission. The man says, "Before that, can you explain why you didn't turn to the beggar sect of the prestigious Gu clan, but to us, who are small and unorthodox?" Yang Chun replied, "I came here because it's something only you can do, and why don't you stop asking questions?" Du Wenshu then apologizes for making him feel uncomfortable, but explains that, because of their surname, they have no choice but to be careful, and hopes that the protagonist understands the situation. Yang Chun replies, "I understand, but are you going to take it or not?" Du Wenshu says, "The house sect doesn't refuse commissions, as long as you can pay for them." Yang Chun replies that he'll take that as an acceptance. Yang Chun then says, "I'm looking for someone, a boy who must be about 10 now." Du Wenshu takes the paper with the information about the boy and says, "I'm sorry, young master, but I think I'm going to have to take that back. I don't think we can accept this commission. Someone who was here before is after the person who protect this child, so I hope you understand." Yang Chun replied, "Even if the commission fee is on the leader of the H sect?" Suddenly, all the men present drew their swords and rushed forward to attack the protagonist. However, Muyan, with absurd speed, manages to protect him and says, "I thought you wouldn't act so aggressively like that." The sect leader asks, "How did he know all this?" Yang Chun replies, "I'm not here to talk in riddles. Isn't it nice to know that we both have information that interests the other?" The man asks, "How do we know your actions are true?" Yang Chun replies, "Check for yourself. Consider the situation, and it's something you should do. It seems you don't need to. Then forget it. I'll go after the beggar sect and maybe even take the opportunity to tell them about the leader of the H sect." Du Wenshu then says, "I understand." Yang Chun replies, "That's great then. How long will it take?" Du Wenshu says it will take about 3 months. Yang Chun stands up and says that it's fine. "As soon as I find the boy, we'll exchange more information." While Du Wenshu had his head down, Yang Chun mentions it's the Sharp Mountain Range and that's the advance payment. A man next to Du Wenshu asks, "The Sharp Mountain Range? Are you really going to trust what this kid says?" Du Wenshu replies, "Seeing as he even knows that the leader is missing, I have no way of doubting that boy." He then thinks, what is that boy thinking? Considering the skills of the guard accompanying him, he already knew that we would act more aggressively, and it's probably not something that only he knows. I'm sure the head of the Gu clan is in on it too. The man starts pulling at the skin on his neck and taking it off, and another man says, "Can you really take that off now?" He replies, "It was bothering me too much, and there's no one else around either." He then thinks the house sect doesn't usually respect or follow a leader's orders strictly, which is why he was hiding to avoid the others coming after him. He says, "My father," and we see a scene of a muscular man tied up and locked in a cell. The scene then switches to the protagonist, who thinks, "Boy, what a relief. If I hadn't said anything to him, I'd have been ready to tell him to come upstairs. It's a good thing that the little I knew was very useful. What I do know is that the leader of the house sect was captured by the Night Palace for about 5 years. As a result, the house sect and the Dark Knight Palace started a war, and the Muram Alliance made a surprise attack on them, thus defeating the Night Palace and collapsing it, putting an end to that war. But during the war, the leader of the house sect ended up dying, resulting in the end of the house sect. But I don't know the exact location of the palace, and I was really only lucky that this information worked. Thanks to the house sect branch in Shanxi and the fact that I know the leader, this really is very annoying, but I need to do this to find him, the boy who reached the top level of administration of the demon cult at such a young age, the genius known as the brain of the demon cult, the heavenly Fong Zhuge Hyuk. I need to find and kill that guy. Even Seola has suffered from his tactic, and if I don't deal with him now, he will greatly help the demon cult advance." Muyan then says, "Anyway, young master, although I don't know what you're looking for, if it's going to take 3 months, we won't get an answer until the summer. And it seems that the people of the house sect aren't as well trained as the rumors say." Yang Chun replies, "Yes, we can only get it in the summer." He starts to think a bit and says, "Gee, why didn't I stop to think about that? Isn't that when the Jin Chuan Yun clan's secret chamber was discovered? There were countless riches accumulated there, but what really matters in that place are the precious spirit pills. If someone happens to evolve through these pills, they will become a demonic human, being one of the demon cult's great sources of power. Zhuge Hyuk is a problem, but so is the secret chamber. Even if I wanted to prevent that, the secret chamber is in Jin Chuan Yun, and it's absurdly far from here." Yang Chun then thinks, "I have no choice. Let's give up on this then. There's no way I can go to Shanxi now, let alone find that top secret place. Well, now all I know is that I have to buy some honey cookies before I go back." The scene then switches to Seola, and she says, "Hey, what are you talking about?" Yang Chun replies, "I asked you how you feel about coming with me. I'll make you happy." And just like that, it was a boy who was proposing to Seola. The answer appeared right in front of my door. The scene then shifts to the second elder, who asks another old man if he's forgotten the leaf. The old man replies that he went there because Yang Chun was giving him a lot of trouble, and to think that the old man would be the root of it all. The old man starts laughing at the old man, who tells him to stop laughing and get to work. The old man then says, Gu Ryan, what do you think you're doing? And breaks his broom. The old man replies, I was just helping to disguise myself as the clan servant. The old man replies, then help me clean the floor now. The old man says that he's just broken his broom, and the old man replies that he's going to cut off his hair to make a new one. The old man starts putting the pieces of wood together, and the old man says, I doubted you'd go this far just to see that boy. The old man replies, you felt it too, didn't you? The child who refused to train in movement and ran away 6 months ago simply overnight ended up surpassing his own sister. What's more, the flow of his flaming will art has stabilized. Don't you think he's an immense talent? We really can't let that boy train alone. The old man then says, I don't know if I should call it talent, since I've never seen anyone develop so quickly in my life. There must be something very suspicious about that child. The first elder won't keep quiet when he finds out, and he must have already made a move. The elder replies, indeed, the first elder is very complicated. But where is this boy now? I doubt he'll cause any trouble if too many people are watching him. Then the scene returns to Seola, who asks what that boy meant. He asks again if she could go with him, as he can make her very happy. He was a childhood friend of Zenite. Then we get some lines from Seola saying, everyone, listen to what Seola has to say. I wanted to know how this happened, so Seola is going to explain it to you. Seola had a dream last night, but it wasn't a good one. No, Seola hurt a lot of people in the dream. Grandpa knows how much she hates holding a sword, but he made Seola hurt a lot of people in the dream. Seola wanted to stop, but she still went into the house to hurt even more people. And she says, but that man over there. The man says, if I only had a little more time, and then rushes towards her, piercing her belly with his sword. He ends up apologizing to her. Seola continues, after that nightmare, Seola eventually woke up. Seola wanted to see the young master because she was very scared, but Hongda told her to go to the courtyard quickly. However, Seola must have got there before the young master, so there was someone else there in that courtyard. That strange man said he would make Seola happy, but Seola is already very happy at the young master's side. So the young master saw everything that had happened and made that scary face again. And after that, something else happened. Then our protagonist is shown facing that guy, and he says, sorry, but she's my servant. But who are you? He's thinking, who the hell is this crazy guy? And why is he looking for Seola? Look at this guy, he's already flushed. I don't know where this guy is from, but he's very cool. The guy then says, forgive me for acting wrongly towards you, Master Yoongu. The protagonist asks if he knows him, and the guy replies that he does, and that his name is actually Gu Julia. He says, I'd like to ask you for a sparring match with the main family lineage. At this point, our protagonist simply refuses the fight, and the boy asks why he was refusing. The protagonist provocatively replies that he simply wasn't up for it. The man then asks if he was running away, and the protagonist replies that yes, he was running away. The boy angrily told him that he was weak and was running away from someone like him. Yang Chun, smiling, replies, man, you really do have a good eye. And in fact, let's just say that I am a wimp. He thinks I caused that huge mess in the fight against my sister. Do you really think I'd make the same mistake of fighting a random guy like that? Yang Chun then turns around and says he's leaving, but suddenly bumps into the second elder, who says, no, you're not leaving. Why don't you accept a fight with him, since this kid has come a long way? The protagonist asks what the second elder was doing there just then. The boy then salutes the second elder, who comments that it had been a long time since he had seen him. Yang Chun asks if they know each other, and the second elder replies, hey, Yang Chun, don't you remember him? He's the grandson of the first elder. So the protagonist begins to observe that boy and think, yes, they really do have a very similar face. The second elder then says, Juliop wants to fight you, doesn't he? He replies that he does, but that the boy had refused because he was afraid. Yang Chun then says, well, it looks like you weren't here to fight, kid. In fact, I was watching you flirt with girls. The man asks if this was an order from the first elder, and Yang Chun thinks, so that's why. Huh? I thought your interest was in martial art, but I think it's actually in politics. It's a known fact that the first elder is a very ambitious man, and he's hoping that I, the good-for-nothing, will inherit the clan. However, after seeing someone he thought was pretty useless defeat Gu Ryan and put an end to his plan, he's probably trying to use his own grandson to try and stop me once again. Yang Chun then says, it's like I said before, I have no intention of taking on that guy. And when I say none, I mean none. So, old man, you'd better not insist, because I've really made up my mind. The old man replies, well, he's come all this way just to fight you. Are you really going to snub this boy in his journey? Yang Chun explains, it's not that. It's just that the outcome of the fight is obvious. I'm going to lose. So what's the point of this fight, since everyone knows the outcome? The old man then says, well, for this old man here, I have a feeling that Yang Chun really isn't going to lose. The protagonist, pulling Seola along, says that just by looking at that guy, he's sure he's much stronger than his sister, and he really doesn't want to fight a fight that will be impossible to win. Not least because I'm not losing my mind, and I also don't want to get involved in anything to do with politics, which I'm sure is this boy's intention in wanting to fight me like this. However, at that moment, the boy grabs Sila's hand and asks Yang-chun and Sila to wait a while. The boy then says to Sila, I feel that Yang-chun is being very mean to you and not treating you the way you deserve. If you come with me, instead of staying with that cowardly wimp, I can defend you myself at all times. At that moment, the protagonist, with a very different expression, says, I think you'd better take your hand off her and come with me, because now I'm going to accept your challenge. And my friends, don't mess with the protagonist's wife, otherwise you'll get into trouble. The scene changes and the two boys are already facing each other. Yang-chun says he's beginning to regret what he's chosen, and the elder replies, don't be. This kind of fight is fun. Fighting with a new martial artist will certainly help you improve a lot. Yang-chun then says, anyway, since things turned out the way you said, I need you to do me a favor, no matter if I win or lose. The elder replies that he has no reason to do him a favor, saying that it would only be the protagonist's loss to lose there, since he is the future head of the clan. Yang-chun then surprises the elder by saying, you're wrong, I have no intention of becoming the head of the clan. The elder asks what he meant by that and who would be the head of the clan apart from him. Yang-chun thinks, I already lost all hope of becoming a chief in my past life, but it seems that people think I want to become the clan chief. Yang-chun then says that he's going to roll on the floor and start crying if the elder doesn't do him the favor. The elder comments that the protagonist is far from adorable, but says, fine, but on one condition, I'll only do this favor for you if you win this fight. The boy asks if the protagonist has warmed up yet, and Yang-chun replies, in a way, yeah. The boy then says he's sorry, and Yang-chun asks, what are you talking about, man? The boy replies, in the past, I dueled you many times, and who knew you'd be laid up for a month after that? Yang-chun tries to remember, but it's been so long that he can't even remember. The boy continues, at that time, I thought you were very weak. I heard that you won against the second daughter, but I think it was just a coincidence. My grandfather doesn't seem to think so, but I don't like harassing the weak. But there's one thing I hate even more, a weak man becoming the head of a clan. Gu Juliop then says to the elder, I'd like something too if I win this duel. The elder asks him what he wants, and Gu Juliop replies that he wants Yala as his maid. At this point, the protagonist becomes even more hateful, calling him a bastard. To add fuel to the fire, the elder says that everything is fine and that they should start the duel. Yang-chun then asks Gu Juliop why he was waiting, and Gu Juliop replies, it's just more polite to let the weaker opponent make the first attack. Yang-chun, teasing, says, weaker? Then why are you so scared now? Gu Juliop thinks, I'm sure I'm better than him. Yang-chun watches and thinks he has an advantage in internal energy, speed, and strength. Am I like this because of his aura? No, not at all. This kid is a failure from head to toe, and I'm sure he's trying his best to control the internal energy I'm exuding right now. That means he already knew everything. It only makes sense if he tries to get it over with quickly, since he has less internal energy. Sure enough, he's completely out of energy now. Yang-chun then says, you said I can attack first, right? The boy answered yes, that he could fall in. At that moment, our protagonist was already at his back, ready to throw a kick, surprising Gu Juliop. However, Juliop manages to dodge the kick. He comments, that was a really good move, but you're still too slow. Yang-chun then punches him right in the face, followed by a high kick, causing Juliop to spit blood. Yang-chun then teases, get up while I'm still going. Don't come crying afterward, saying I ambushed you. Or is this fight already over? Juliop stands up and says, I apologize for underestimating you. I was really testing you. Yang-chun replies, well, that's the end of the fight then, isn't it? But Juliop insists, I still have to attack you. Yang-chun thinks, this isn't going to be as quick as I wanted, and I really don't have much time to waste here. Usually, I release internal energy outward, like he's doing, but to fight someone stronger, I need to incorporate internal energy within myself to strengthen my body. However, my body can't use internal energy in this way yet, and if I push it out too far, I can divert the energy. I only have 7 minutes. I need to finish this fight within 7 minutes. Yang-chun observes Juliop's sword technique. The sword technique he uses begins and ends with using the force of friction between the sword and the scabbard. If I'm careful with that, I might be able to win easily. At that moment, Juliop rushes forward at an absurd speed to stab Yang-chun, but narrowly misses. Not satisfied, Juliop returns with his sword and starts attacking again and again, while Yang-chun dodges every attack, albeit with great difficulty. Yang-chun thinks the movements of his technique are connected naturally. He's trained hard for it, but that also means that if I cut him, he won't be able to do anything at all. Yang-chun then puts his hand on his chest and, as he squeezes it, an aura goes towards Juliop. Yang-chun comments, that's the move when I divide and release all my energy. It's enough to end this fight. Juliop, surprised, asks, how did you manage to release so much energy like that? As he spoke, Yang-chun simply punched the boy very hard in the stomach, knocking him away. Juliop hits his back on a gigantic rock in agony and says he can't move. Yang-chun then comments, you know what I hate the most? Even though you insult me, act like a little shit, or try to steal the position of head of the clan, I don't really really give a shit about any of that. But you started something out of your league, you wretch, and I really hate it. Yang-chun thinks, I don't like the fact that he tried to get something he doesn't deserve in such a casual way. Should I break his arm so that he learns his lesson? Well, I think that's a great idea. His right arm, how about that? Just as Yang-chun was about to break Juliop's arm, the old man arrived and said, well done, Yang-chun, but you don't need any of that, that's enough. The scene then changes, and the old man comments, you took it too hard with that boy. Yang-chun replies, he should have been prepared for this. He stood up for himself. Yang-chun says, and he's gone home, so I guess everything's fine with him, right? The elder replies, aren't you worried about what the first elder will think of this? Yang-chun retorts, well, who cares about that guy? I don't even want to be head of the clan anyway, so it doesn't matter to me. The elder asked him not to say such rude things and asked, who else could be head of the clan but you, the direct heir? Yang-chun replies, man, I don't know, whatever, anyone. Seola, for her part, just kept asking if she was going to get any food. The elder said, all the food in the world, and Seola replied, well, now Seola's dream is to be the great captain of this world. The elder rebukes her, saying that this was not a joke. Our protagonist then wonders when Seola will learn to use a sword, just like in her past life. If she was called the Supreme Swordsman's direct disciple, he must surely have taught her, but she only does chores all day and I've never seen her use a sword. I didn't realize she used to be so stupid, but what was it like when I met Seola that winter anyway, and why can't I remember it? It certainly shouldn't be something I forget so easily. Linton, Seola, then asks if Yang-chun is okay, and she comments that she knew he had hit his head in the fight. You were supposed to make me captain before I became a little star, says Seola jokingly. Yang-chun punches her lightly on the head to make her stop saying such things. The elder then gets up, saying that they'll talk about it later, as Yang-chun must be very tired and needs to rest. Yang-chun then asks, where are you going, old man? Do you still have to keep your promise, or have you forgotten? The old man asks, okay, what do you want? Food or money? Yang-chun replied, nothing that trivial, old man. You're powerful enough to help me with something much more difficult. The elder asks what he wants, and Yang-chun points, saying that he wants to be sent to Sichuan. The elder then asks what he wants to do in Sichuan, and Yang-chun scoffs, can't you be in charge anyway? You're the elder. The elder then asks, why don't you go by yourself? Yang-chun doesn't quite understand what he means by that, and the elder replies, I thought it would be something much more complicated, but I worry for nothing. Yang-chun then says, but elder, I said Sichuan, and it's not like it's just around the corner. You know that the heir to the Gu clan shouldn't be wandering around on his own, right? And that I should have a good reason for doing so. The elder then suggests, go to the Tang Weapons exhibition. This surprises the protagonist. It is explained that the Tang Weapons exhibition is an event that takes place every year, where the Tang clan invites other clans to display their weapons made by craftsmen. The elder says, you don't even have to attend, just use it as an excuse. Yang-chun joked, fighting a duel, I didn't even want to just ask that. Just kidding, old man. Actually, I'm going to want money anyway. The elder then asks, do you really want to go? Yang-chun comments, I didn't even realize it, but getting older is very scary. The protagonist says, man, at least give me a spiritual pill then. The elder agrees, right, I'll send you to Sichuan as soon as possible, and kid, you can be sure I'll show you the power of an elder. Desperate, Yang-chun tries to back down, elder, I take it back. Give me anything else, anything at all. But the elder, shouting, orders, you're going to Sichuan right now. Yang-chun comments to himself, even if he wanted to, he couldn't refuse now, since the elder would have to make a report first and prepare. The elder then shouts, it's an urgent order from the elder. Send young master Yang-chun to Sichuan right now. And soon after, the elder announces, young master, we're ready to go. Our protagonist couldn't believe everything was happening so quickly. Then the scene changed and he was already in the carriage. The old man asked them to get back to work, and the old man asks if even he has to work. The old man replies, of course, since you wanted an old man like me to do all the work by myself. The old man then comments, there's only the two of us, it's really boring, isn't it? Please let me get this off my chest. The old man then asks, did you send the young master away just to let off steam? The old man replies, a few days ago, the head of the clan asked me about an immortal doctor. It seems that someone asked him about it. The old man asks, the immortal doctor? But what do you mean? The old man says, if you're not going to answer, then let's change the subject. Your granddaughter, Yahello, that little girl, she doesn't seem to be human, or does she? Old Yahello replies to the elder, saying that he's already overstepping his bounds and that he should be much more careful with what he says. The old man continues, if she were really human, I would feel a presence, and that presence would even be similar to yours, although it changes from person to person. But when I saw her for the first time at the Unified Dragon Assembly, that child simply had no presence at all. And if you think that the immortal doctor can cure her with divine abilities, you'd better get out of the rain. You know as well as I do that this isn't a disease. Yahello, already conjuring several golden swords, replied, enough, Gu Ryan, that child is a human. The old man then turned and said, well, if that's what you mean, if you want to protect her so badly, go ahead. What I want doesn't matter at all. And if she really isn't human, you just have to make up for what's missing in her humanity. Yahello then says, I will give my life, if necessary, so that Yahello may grow up safe and sound. It is said that a few hours later, the Supreme Swordsman would notice that Yahello had disappeared. And so we end another part of this exciting story. If you're enjoying it, don't forget to leave a like and a comment. This will help me bring you the next installment as soon as possible. And for those of you who are die-hard fans, how about becoming a member of the channel? As a member, you get early access to the videos, you can watch them all without ads, and you also help to keep the channel constantly updated with incredible content. Just click on the link in the description to become a member. Until the next video, and thanks.
The scene shifts to the bodyguard, who says, now we just need to prepare the food and the woman. The woman replies, there are still a few days to go before we arrive in Sichuan, and we'll have to ration the provisions. The man asks, where did the young master go? She replies, he said he'd be training while we get things ready. The man then comments, he was probably very bored, that's why he said that. The woman, smiling, adds, we should have brought Yahello with us. We then see the protagonist doing some training. After punching a tree, he sits down and comments that he's very hungry. He thinks, I've only done a few moves, but I'm already running out of internal energy. It's been more than 10 days since we left, and even with my intense training, I don't seem to be getting any better. My biggest problem in the battle against Gu Juliop was a lack of internal energy, and that's the basis of all martial arts, so I need to increase it as quickly as possible. Looking at his hand, he remembers that symbol that appeared and thinks, the demonic art of absorption is a way of absorbing the energy of demon stones, just like spirit pills, but you also end up absorbing demonic energy. This is what corrupts the user. For some reason, the Gu fire will purify this energy, increasing my internal energy without consequences. But it's still the art of the celestial demon. It would be better if I didn't use this technique. I barely managed to escape once, so I can't go back to the demonic path now. He then hears a scream coming from the forest and wonders what is happening there. The protagonist runs to the bodyguard and asks what's going on. They find the woman frightened by something inside the carriage. When they get closer, they discover that it's Yahello. She shyly tells them that she heard something too. We have a flashback of Yahello talking to her grandfather, saying that she also wanted to go, but her grandfather told her that she couldn't because she hasn't learned how to do her chores properly yet. She asks why he let her go last time, and he replies that on that occasion there were people who could help her if she made a mistake, but that wasn't the case in Sichuan. He adds that she needs to help him move things. Yahello then comments that he said he wouldn't be back for a month or so, but she admits she's terrible at chores, and the young master hates useless people. Yahello doesn't have much choice. Suddenly, she heard a voice saying wait, but there was no one there. She wonders if the voice was coming from a box, and suddenly a hand pushes the box inside. Startled, Yahello falls asleep inside the box. She explains what happened, but no one seems to believe her story. Irritated, Yahello repeats the story, but everyone says that they heard it the first time and didn't need to repeat it. They ask if she has been possessed by a ghost, and Yahello replies that this is exactly what happened. They suggest that she return to the clan, which is what she should have done. In the carriage, while they were traveling, Yahello commented that he had seen an owl and had tried to eat one before, but they were too sticky. Then she says she's seen a squirrel. The protagonist asks her if she's ever tried to eat a squirrel too, but she says no, thinking it's too cruel. How could anyone eat a squirrel? The protagonist takes the cookies from her hand and says that's enough. He thinks, I was going to send her back home with a guard, but she's already come this far and we wouldn't have enough food for everyone, so we're traveling together. Yahello then suggests exchanging the cookies for something, but when he picks up a type of worm, the protagonist says no and throws the cookie away. He thinks he should have sent Yahello back. Suddenly, the protagonist feels for green fires coming towards him. Muyan asks everyone to stop, and the protagonist says that he felt it too. He comments, I knew it was too peaceful to be true. Thula, come here, it's too dangerous. Suddenly, the protagonist realizes that there are only 3 of them, then 2, and finally just 1. When he looks back, a monster is attacking him. However, a white-haired woman appears and easily cuts the monster in half with a sword. She comments that she couldn't look after them properly because she was alone. Yahello asks who she was talking to, but the protagonist tells her not to ask him because he doesn't know either. Yahello catches the woman's eye and, looking at her face, the protagonist recognizes her. He remembers a scene in which several people were lying dead next to him, and the woman was standing in a river of blood. She comments that it looks like they were going to Sichuan and that there is no one else there. The protagonist asks if she could go with them, and she introduces herself as Namgung Baya. The protagonist then asks, "What was that crazy bastard doing in that place?" The scene changes to a crow eating a dead body on the floor, and we see a corridor full of dead people, with blood splattered everywhere. The girl was there, and behind her was the protagonist in his past life. He says, "So you mean you're the only survivor, huh? You killed them all." And she replies, "What did the cult leader say?" The protagonist replies, "They said I'd have to bring you here and that you'd act crazy." And she comments, "Well, isn't that all you wanted to say?" He replies that he thinks she has enough sense to understand that. The protagonist then tells everyone to leave, but she was already going the wrong way. He says, "Not that way, go left," but she was going right. He exclaims, "No, that's the right. My God, that's the female version of Zorro, and a swordsman to boot." Tired, he asked her not to do anything strange and just to follow him, as he was very exhausted. He then says, "There's something I've wanted to ask you for a long time. Is the Supreme Swordsman really that strong?" And he warns, "I'm telling you just in case. The Supreme Swordsman is someone the cult leader is going to face. What's his fencing like? Is it stronger than mine? Stronger than the cult leaders?" Tired, the protagonist finally loses patience and calls her crazy, launching an attack in her direction. However, without moving, she breaks the power in half. She then exclaims, "What the hell are you doing? Do you want to fight me?" And he replies, "That's not the right way, and you're getting lost all the time." He continues, "If you've understood what I've said, shut your damn mouth and follow me." They continue walking, and the protagonist comments, "If I mention the three Supremes again, I'll rip you in half." She points in the other direction and suggests that it looks like a shortcut. The protagonist, already out of patience, almost attacks her again, saying that she's a raving lunatic. He comments, "I reached my destination in 1 day, while Namgung Baya took 4 days. Returning to the present, Baya says, "I think you're going to Sichuan, and if it's not too rude to ask, could I accompany you?" Gu Yongchun replies, "No, we're not going to Sichuan. And yes, that's a very rude question." He thinks, "I'd be crazy to get involved with that crazy woman again, and even with all that, I have a lot more to say." Gu Yongchun then comments, "More importantly, we can't believe your words that you really are from the Nangong clan." Baya, in response, begins to concentrate, conjuring up all her power. Suddenly, a gigantic bolt of lightning strikes the girl. Muyin then says, "This is the form of the ruler's sword. If she uses it here, everything will be blown up." Suddenly, an explosion happens and Baya says, "That's all I can demonstrate for now, because I'm not up to it yet." Muyin already had his sword around the girl's neck, and Baya asks, "Wouldn't that be enough evidence?" The protagonist then says that she really is from the Nangong clan, and comments, "I'm sorry to say this, but I certainly don't think we should accompany someone with such fearsome martial arts." The scene changes and Baya is roasting a dead frog. Siola comments that it looks like she was going to sleep in that place, and Gu Yongchun says he already knew that. He thinks, "I was relieved that she didn't say anything at all when I rejected her, but I didn't think she'd follow the cart, and why is she following us even when I said we're not going to Sichuan? Ignoring her is the best I can do at the moment. I have to treat her as if she doesn't exist." The protagonist then tells Siola not to do unnecessary things, like talking to her. However, when he looks away, Siola has already disappeared. And guess what? She was already standing next to Baya. Siola then comments that she can peel the skin off the frog this way, and the food would be much tastier. Gu Yongchun then came up to Siola, asking what she was doing there. Siola said she was going to eat the frog, so she was helping to prepare it. Gu Yongchun then said that he had already told her not to mess with it, but Siola didn't even hear what the protagonist was saying. Namgung Baya watched the protagonist in silence and asked, "I understand that you're part of the Nangong clan, but why are you acting like this? How long are you going to accompany us? And why is the daughter of such a prestigious clan traveling alone to a distant land?" Baya, embarrassed, replies that they left together, but that unfortunately she got lost. The protagonist thinks he already knew this would happen, since she had zero sense of direction in her past life. He wonders why he thought there would be a different reason this time. He then says, "We're not even going to Sichuan, so why are you following us?" Baya replies, I had a big hunch that you were going there, but it seems that you really aren't going to Sichuan. Seola, observing the conversation, begins to worry, questioning whether they really weren't going to Sichuan, which ends up completely shattering the protagonist's lie. He can only think that he should have sent Baya back anyway. The protagonist then says, "We can't stop you from going in the same direction, but I'm not going to do anything for you." The girl introduces herself, "I'm Namgung Baya." The protagonist replies, "I already knew that." Baya then asks if he could introduce himself too, to which he replies that he would rather not. However, he suddenly says, "My name is Gu Juliop from the Gu clan," and he can only mentally apologize to Juliop. 2 days after the event, the protagonist still feels guilty about Gu Juliop. It was already daylight and he was inside the carriage. Seola and Baya were getting on well, chatting a lot, which naturally slowed down the pace of the journey. Gu Yongchun asks Seola to get into the carriage right away. Seola asks if Baya could get in too, and he replies that he would never let her in. Seola then says that, in that case, she doesn't want to get in. He then asks Seola, "Who do you think you are?" Baya asks if she can go up, and Gu Yongchun, impatient, asks Muyin how much longer it is. Muyin replies that they would arrive in a day if they were at their original pace. The protagonist then asks, "And at the current pace, how long would it take?" Muyin replies, "Maybe 3 days." Muyin then says, "Young master, although I don't know why you're so wary of that woman, you can't walk with her." The protagonist replies, "Well, I have no other choice, so let's reconsider our options in a nearby village." Later, Gu Yongchun gets out of the carriage and asks Muyin if there's still a day to go. Muyin confirms that yes, at least they won't have to sleep outside that night. Seola comments to Baya that they're going to sleep together tonight. Baya asks if it would be okay to do that. The protagonist replies, "I didn't allow it." He asks why Baya was carrying Seola on her back. Baya explains that Seola said she had pain in her legs. The protagonist tells her to get into the carriage if her legs are hurting. Baya replies that Seola told her not to. He then says, "We've arrived, so stop being rude and get down now." Baya then asks if Seola is coming down. Seola comments that she saw people wearing the same clothes coming towards them. Suddenly, a man calls out for his sister, who in this case is Baya, and asks where she was, saying that it was very difficult to find her. Baya apologizes, saying that she got lost. Her brother then says that this is why he said they should tie her to him, but Baya replies that this would be very embarrassing for her. He then asks, "So you mean that's why you disappeared? I was worried sick about you. But who's that with you?" Why Seola introduces herself and says that the grumpy young man there was her master. Gu Yongchun, impatient, asks her to get off Baya's back immediately, thinking, so that's her older brother. In the future, he will become the Thunder Swordsman, one of the 5 great swordsmen of the Murim, but not the current Thunder Dragon, Namgung Chunjun. The boy then says, "I'm sorry I didn't introduce myself before. I'm Namgung Chunjun, from the Namgung clan." The protagonist replies, "I'm Gu Juliop, from the Gu clan, and it's nice to meet you." Chunjun then comments, "It's an honor, it's nice of you, but now I want to know something. What are you doing with my sister?" The protagonist, in shock, replies, "We met her by chance on the way to Sichuan and ended up traveling together." Baya then comments that she didn't think the protagonist was going to Sichuan and that she had also been walking all this time. Chunjun then says, "It seems that my sister has invaded your group. If it's all right with you, why don't you stay in one of our rooms today? We have several available." The protagonist, however, politely refuses, saying that they've already done what they had to do, but he thinks, "I'm sorry, but there's no way I'm going to stay near that crazy woman. I'm sure we'll find somewhere else to stay." Muyin then comments, "Young master, apparently there are no more rooms available." The protagonist replies to get ready to camp, but Muyin insists, "Young master, we can't stand sleeping out in the open any longer. Are you really going to do this to us? Of course we'll be fine, but it would be nice to sleep in a warm bed, wouldn't it?" Seeing that there was no other choice, the protagonist ends up accepting Chunjun's offer. He then reflects, the first thing Namgung Baya did as a demonic martial artist was to neutralize her own clan, including the head of the clan and all the disciples. After that, she earned the title of Empress of the Demon Blade and started to become very famous all over the world. She must really hate the clan to do something so cruel, but apart from her relationship with the Thunder Dragon, I don't see any problem. I'm very curious about the Namgung clan's secret technique, the form of the ruler's sword. I feel that this technique makes her stronger than the Thunder Dragon, but she still doesn't have his fame or recognition. Her brother seems pretty normal to me. Have I missed something between them? Suddenly, her brother appears and asks the protagonist if he slept well. The protagonist replies that he slept very well and that the rooms were great. However, Chunjun, with an ignorant attitude, purposely bumps into the protagonist's shoulder and says, "Put yourself in your place, brat." Gu Yong-chun, surprised, asks, "What's it like?" Chunjin replies, "I tried to be nice to you, but apparently you don't care, do you? You're not supposed to talk to my sister. I don't know how you managed to seduce my innocent little sister, but if it happens again, I'll break you in half. And that piece of crap on her back, you can be sure I'll do the same thing." Suddenly, Baya appears, and Chunjin's personality changes instantly, saying, "I'm glad you slept well." He continues, pushing Baya, "Let's have breakfast." The protagonist thinks that everyone in the place is crazy. Gu Yong-chun then turns to Muyin and asks if he slept well. When Muyin was about to talk about the Namgung clan, the protagonist interrupted him, saying that he didn't want to hear about them around him and asked when they were leaving, as he couldn't stand it any longer. Muyin replies that they're ready and will be leaving right after breakfast. The protagonist thinks that at least Muyin is normal and that he wants to get away from the Namgungs as soon as possible. Baya then approaches him and says, "I'm sorry I didn't get to say hello earlier." Seola comments that the dumplings there are very good and asks him to get some too. Gu Yongchun wonders if he'll have to eat with them. He then says, "I don't mind eating with you, but you shouldn't be here. You really shouldn't be with your brother over there." We then see that her brother is looking at them with a lot of hatred. Baya replies, "I just sat in the seat that was closest to me," and Gu Yongchun realizes that her brother was glaring at him. When Baya looks at her brother, he's all cute this time. The protagonist then thinks, "I don't know what she's planning, but this is the last time I intend to meet them until the Tang Weapons exhibition." He then says, "I'm leaving," and she replies, "But you haven't even finished eating yet." He replies that he was already too full and thinks he hopes never to see her in front of him again. He then says, "Enjoy your meal, because I'm leaving." Her brother approaches the table and asks, "We're all sitting right next to you, so why did you come and sit here?" Baya senses a very strange smell coming from her brother, a very dark aura too. She replies that it was more convenient. He then asks Baya to sit with them next time, and she apologizes. Baya gets up, and her brother asks her where she's going, since she hasn't even finished eating yet. She replies that she was going to the carriage because she wanted to rest for a while. However, he suddenly realizes that she was actually following Seola and the protagonist. The protagonist asks again why she was following them, and her brother is already full of hatred for the whole thing. He says, "I hate it when people interfere in our relationship." Gu Yongchun then asks, "Excuse me, but why are you still following us?" And Baya replies that she wasn't following them, just tagging along. He then says, "We'll leave it at that, but why did you come in here if your companion is right over there?" Seola replies that it was she who brought Baya there. The protagonist, full of rage, orders Muyin to get them both out of there. The scene changes and they finally arrive in the city of Sichuan. It is said that the Tang clan of Sichuan is an extremely prestigious Orthodox clan that has had its roots in the Sichuan region for centuries. The precision of the Namgung family, the vigor of the Pang clan from Hebei, and the skill of the Moyong clan make the Tang clan seem inferior compared to the other clans, but they are known as the best manipulators of poison and steel. The Tang Weapons exhibition is the result of this confidence. The protagonist then thinks, "I have 3 days to find the treasure after the end of the Tang Weapons exhibition. All I know is that it's in Sichuan, and that's the general area where it is. How am I going to find it in such a big city? If I can't, I might have to resort to leaking out to the beggar's sect. I'll need to hurry as much as possible." Suddenly, Seola appears next to the protagonist, startling him. He wondered what she was doing there. Seola, all excited, comments that it's the first time she's been in such a high place, and the wind-up there was very refreshing. She then says, "Young master, look at the fireflies. They're dancing under the moonlight. Baya also told me about a very beautiful lake." She takes Gu Yongchun's hand and suggests that they take a look together. They arrive at the lake, and Gu Yongchun comments that it really is as huge as she said. He wonders how big the clan needs to be to have a forest inside it. Seola, with her silly attitude, asks where she was hiding, but she was just holding 2 plants in her hands, thinking she was well hidden. The protagonist just ignores her and tells her to stop it. Seola, all cute, says that she just wanted to cheer up the young master. He replies that this isn't something she can help with and that she doesn't need to worry about it. She insists, "Maybe if you tell me, I can help." He replies, "All right then. If someone were to hide valuables in this vast land, where do you think they would hide them?" She replies, "Why would they need to hide it? Are they evil?" He explains that he was just asking for emotional support. Suddenly, a person appeared behind them and asked who they were, saying that outsiders weren't allowed to walk there. Gu Yongchun thought, "Speaking of the Tang clan, I had forgotten about her," the one who single-handedly took on a swarm of thousands of human demons attacking Sichuan, the Tang Soil Poison Queen, a woman I killed in my past life. We see a flashback to the protagonist's past life, where Tang Soil, the Poison Queen, was kneeling in front of him, surrounded by skeletons and blood. He then asks, "Is everything ready, Poison Queen?" She, apparently blind, asked if it was him, and he replied, "What a silly scene, huh? Your relatives deserted a long time ago. What did you think would change by guarding this place alone?" She replies that nothing would change. He then asks why she did all this, and she asks what brought him here. He replies that that was a stupid question and grabs her by the neck, saying that he was there to end her cursed life. With a resigned tone, she says, "I'm sorry." He replies, "Apologizing to a human demon? You've really lost your mind, haven't you, Poison Queen?" She agrees, saying that her sanity has finally broken down and that there are so many things she only sees now, after losing her eyes, and that she should have given up before. He then says that her bullshit is over and asks if that's all she has to say to him. When she tries to ask him something, he breaks her neck before she can finish speaking. Seeing her blood on his hands, he comments that it was disgusting. We return to the present, where Tang Soil asks the protagonist if he's not going to answer. He thinks, well, I guess she's still the same Poison Queen as before. She then threatens to call the guards if he doesn't answer. Suddenly, Baya appears and whispers something in Tang Soil's ear. The girl asks why she only said that now, and Baya replies that it was because they hadn't asked her before. Tang Soil then introduces himself. "I'm Tang Soil, from the Tang clan, and I apologize for raising my voice to a family guest." The protagonist introduces himself as Gu Juliop and apologizes for not being able to answer due to the surprise. He asks why she is there, and she explains that non-clan members are not allowed in that place. The protagonist asks if Baya isn't an outsider there too, to which Tang Soil replies that Baya's relatives allowed her in, so everything was fine. He thinks, so she's telling me to get out of here just because she didn't give me permission to enter? How petty, but I was going to leave anyway. He then said he was already leaving and left with Seola. Tang Soil comments to Baya, "Gu Juliop from the Gu clan, he really is very rude, don't you think?" Baya then asks, "Why did you look at him so angrily like that?" Tang Soil replies that she didn't like the fact that he didn't apologize, even after she pointed out the mistake, but says that sometimes people act rudely just because they're a little pretty. She shyly tries to say that he wasn't handsome, but she said that before. Baya, confused, no longer understood anything Tang Soil was saying, and Tang Soil began to wonder if he really was handsome with that evil face. She then comments that simple guys, even if they're a bit ugly, are the best. Tang Soil continues rambling, saying that these men really are no good. The scene changes to the next morning. The protagonist comments that the Tang weapons exhibition will be held the following day, and decides to take advantage of the free time to do some training. However, when he opens the door, he bumps into Baya and her brother, wondering what they were doing there so early. Baya replies that she was bringing food, and her brother asks, "What do you mean food?" She explains that the Tang clan had invited them for lunch, and that her sister had suggested inviting the protagonist as well. Gu Yongchun replies, "Ah, now I get it. I appreciate you remembering me, but I'm a very shy guy, you know? I'm a bit uncomfortable having lunch around other people." He thinks, "I hope they got the message and got out of my face." Baya's brother, however, grabs the protagonist's arm and insists that he go with them. The protagonist thinks, "Didn't I just say I didn't want to go? Why is this brat trying to force me to go with them?" Gu Yongchun, annoyed, starts emanating his aura, scaring the boy. Baya's brother even quickly withdrew his hand when he felt the protagonist's aura. The protagonist then said, "It looks like I won't be able to refuse such a thoughtful invitation, so I'll have to go with you." Gu Yongchun then hugged the boy and said, "Mr. Namgung, you'd better keep that shit-eating grin on, since your dear little sister is watching us, you know?" The boy, with a lot of hatred for the protagonist, replies, "Thank you for accepting the invitation." Gu Yongchun replies, "Relax, it's all right. I'd be an idiot to turn down an invitation like that, wouldn't you?" The scene changes to the banquet. The protagonist looks at the food and thinks, "I already knew that Sichuan was known for its spicy food, but everything here is spicy. How am I going to eat all this? Relax, the hemorrhoid will come later." A boy called Tang Juyak, son of the head of Sichuan's Tang clan, comments, It's nothing fancy, but I hope you like it. The protagonist then wonders how he's going to like anything from there and thinks, maybe these dumplings are edible. They look a little less reddish than the others. But when he went to eat, he noticed that the look on the girl's face was very strange. He thought, what's wrong with her? She always had that strange look in my past life, every time we met. I can't believe I'm going to have to put up with that again. When he takes a bite, he spits it out because it was so hot, it was impossible to eat anything at that table. Then someone offers him water, which he quickly accepts. Baya then goes to eat some meat, and the protagonist looks on. She comments that that piece of meat wasn't spicy and that he could eat it. The protagonist thinks that Baya was very casual, while her brother was already getting so hateful that he even broke the chopsticks he was using. The boy then says, wow, it looks like your chopsticks were faulty. I'm sorry about that. Baya's brother replies, no, that was my fault. Relax. I still find it a bit tricky to use these things. The girl then stands up and looks at the protagonist. He asks her if she wants to say something, but she shyly replies that she doesn't want to say anything. He insists, well, you look like you want to say something. When she was finally about to ask him what he liked, Baya's brother interrupted her and asked, Mr. Ryuk, are your training grounds near here? He replied, yes. We have an exclusive training area for our clan. Haven't I already shown you? We always clean that area, but it's very rare that anyone uses it that day. All the clan members have their own personal training areas. Gu Yongchun then comments that he would like to go there and asks if he can. The boy replies, well, it looks like everyone's finished eating here, so I'll take you there. The protagonist thinks, what does that guy mean? They arrive at the training site and everyone is impressed by the space. The boy comments, our ancestors used to say that the bigger the better, but I really can't understand the need for that. Baya's brother says that he's sure there must be a very deep meaning behind these words. Tang Soyol's brother then comments, Soyol used to use this place to try to defeat me, but now that she's grown up, she doesn't want to use it with me anymore. The girl is very shy that her brother is exposing this, and Gu Yongchun only thinks, it's a good thing I don't have a sister like her. Baya's brother then suggests, since we've just finished eating, how about we move around a bit to help digestion? And Gu Yongchun can only think, digestion? But I haven't even eaten anything. Baya's brother, clearly annoyed, suggests, how about a little duel with me? Little does he know that our protagonist has already beaten up his own sister for talking about his mother, and has also beaten up a Telerik who tried to rob Siola. Imagine what our protagonist won't do to that nutter. The protagonist thinks, I knew just by looking at his face that this guy was dying to beat me up, but does he really think I'm going to go along with his plan? Gu Yongchun replies, easy there, my friend. A third-rate like me fighting the lightning dragon? I'm sorry, but I don't think that's going to be possible. The girl then intervened, saying that this was unacceptable. You two have a huge difference in skill and age, and if you end up hurting him, what will you do? Even Gu Yongchun didn't understand why she was defending him. Baya's brother, with a cynical smile, says, relax, it's okay. We won't be using our internal energy. We can do this more like a mentoring match. What do you think? The protagonist thinks, look at the way this little shit thinks. He replies, so you think you can handle it? You mean you think you're skilled enough? The man replies, I think you're phrasing it a bit rudely. But still, let's see how good you are, Yongchun. Baya's brother says, okay, then let's see how good you are. Gu Yongchun tells the boy to attack him first, and he replies, who am I to refuse that request? I'll go first. He starts attacking the protagonist, who dodges easily, but the boy doesn't stop attacking for a second. Gu Yongchun thinks that those first attacks were just a show, and that the real fight is about to begin. With his sword, the boy intensifies his attacks. The narrative then takes a detour to talk about Tang Soyol. She was always a bit different, even as a child. While other children her age chased kittens and puppies, she sympathized more with beasts like tigers or wolves. The fierce eyes and sharp fangs revealed when they roared, being predators. They possessed a unique, unreachable soul, and that was the power that set them apart from other animals, which intrigued her the most. Because of these peculiar preferences, the young woman has encountered many problems in her search for love. Will I ever find someone like you, Danglang? I hope I find someone at the Tang Weapons exhibition this time. She comments on Tang Juyak. He's alright, but I don't understand why women like that little girl face he has. There's no one in this world like you, Danglang. Then she is told that she has finally found someone, the love of her life, someone she never expected to meet, and that someone was our protagonist. But if she wants anything, she'll have to join the queue, because the number of women in love with our protagonist is unwritten. Looking at Gu Yongchun, she asks herself, why is is my heart beating so fast? It's not good for me. I must be confused, maybe it's the cold. He's going to be as ugly and unattractive as the other heirs when I wake up tomorrow. But the next morning, over breakfast, she was even more in love, thinking that his eyes were incredible, that he could eat hot things like that, and even the way he drank water was adorable. She wondered when it had gotten to this point and if this was love. Maybe she could go one step further. However, she is suddenly snapped back to reality when a piece of wood almost hits her. When she looked forward, the protagonist had simply broken Baya's brother's wooden sword with his bare hands, which made her fall to her knees in disbelief at what she was seeing. Baya's brother, shocked, asks, "Why did he manage to break my sword? I played along during the first 2 attacks to see what this worm could do, but it seems the tables have turned." Gu Yongchun then says, "You really think you're a genius, but you keep wavering while you fight. If this were a real fight, you'd have died at least 3 times by now, you know that?" When Gu Yongchun goes to hit the boy on the head from behind, he dodges and thinks, "That miserable worm, he's attacking an unarmed opponent." Gu Yongchun then says, "Well, go and get a whole sword. You said it would be like a practice match, didn't you? So I want you to train me. I'm waiting. Or is it you who's being trained by me? And I'm not a very good teacher, am I?" The boy began to emanate a frightening aura, saying that the bastard would pay. At an absurd speed, he advances towards the protagonist with an attack. Gu Yongchun then comments, "So, you mean you're using internal energy, right? Well, now I'm going to end your race." He launches a blow, but the protagonist parries all his attacks. The boy, in shock, exclaims, "No, that's impossible. How can this wretch be stronger than me?" The protagonist replies, "Well, I've let you save yourself plenty of times, haven't I, you fucking worm?" Gu Yongchun then kicks the boy hard in the privates, eliminating any possibility of future generations of him. This leaves all the spectators horrified, while the boy can only think of the unbearable pain, as if an egg had broken in half. He falls to his knees on the floor, right at the protagonist's feet. Gu Yongchun then crouches down next to the boy's face and says, "Hey, what's wrong? Did I crack some eggs?" The protagonist is undoubtedly ruthless and has a strong presence. If you're enjoying the story and want to follow more incredible content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your like. This helps us to keep bringing you more videos.